This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Thioli Relina of Asura, Shadow Odegev of Lamia, Skalkaya Laki of Ragnarok. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/limitbreakradio. And by Alamo City Comic Con, October 28th through the 30th at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in sunny San Antonio, Texas. Alamo City Comic Con celebrates the artists that entertain us through TV, movies, comics, gaming, and cosplay. For more information, including badge prices, celebrity guests, hotel accommodations, and more, visit AlamoCityComicCon.com.
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break with your hosts, Unhero.
You don't want to go to war with me.
Juxtaposition.
You gotta calm down or I'm gonna have to frag you.
Ascalia.
We are dealing with someone here who has absolutely no life.
And Mika.
And I am a gorgeous girl with big cans.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, episode number 77. We're happy to have you along here at twitch.tv/limitbreakradio. We are live from Eorzea. Let's kick it on over to our Eorzean studios. If you'd like to join us live in the studio, wave at the camera, tell us hi, harass us in our free company.
Try to find the LBR Mandies strewn about the house.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's become a hide-and-seek game now, hasn't it?
And Juxta gives you 1,000,000 gil if you find them all.
Is that true?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. All right. Just checking.
Juxta doesn't have 1,000,000 gil.
Is that right?
That's right.
How do you not have 1,000,000 gil?
What?
Combined with, first of all, I don't play the game too much currently.
Yeah, but you're... Hang on. How many yokai weapons do you have?
9.
Oh my god.
And yet, you've spent exactly how much time streaming
these? Doing fates, too.
And the fact that I keep on furnishing the house to make it new and exciting.
Uh-huh.
All right, so I stand corrected. If you find all the Mandies, Juxta will embezzle 1,000,000 gil from the company and then give it to you.
Well, no, I just will embezzle it and keep it.
Oh, okay.
We really need that housing item limit cap to go up, don't we?
Yeah,
oh, that'd be great.
I mean, we could really deck out the rest of this place instead of just the downstairs. Because the downstairs is solid. It's just when that iCam wanders upstairs.
It's like, oh, there's the barracks and all the beds.
Right.
And why is there someone laying on one of the beds?
Okay.
For the iCam.
Yeah, for the eye candy era.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, maybe in 3.4 we can get an apartment complex.
Yeah.
An entire complex.
It's not. That was one of the weirder things. I still don't know what to make of that announcement or suggestion or whatever it is. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us here live at twitch.tv/limitbreakradio. Of course, if this is your first time joining us, hit that follow button. Join us each and every single Sunday. We are here live starting at 1 p.m. here at twitch.tv/limitbreakradio. We've also got Facebook and Twitter pages. You can find that at Limit Break Radio on Twitter and Facebook.com/Limit Break Radio. And of course, you can find our podcast if you want to hear any of our episodes. We've got our full archive available for download over at LimitBreakRadio.com. Although I got an email from our server the other day. We are running very, very close to our storage cap.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, how's that possible?
Our storage cap.
Our storage cap, not our bandwidth cap. So,
okay.
something. We've got to do something with the basically the 11 archive, because that's taking up the bulk of the room there. And I think if we I had an idea. I think we may start like lbarchive.com and just have a very simple
archive. I love it.
lbarchive.com.
All right, I'll tell you. I'll go ahead and I'll be the one to make the sacrifice. You can delete Voices of Vanadil.
Oh, no, we don't want to make any of these unavailable, but we do have to figure out some sort of new storage solution.
We just have to make them really, really hard to find.
Well, no, not even that. But it is going to take some work on our end to, change the URLs on all of our pages. And
oh my God.
I know, right? We got to go through that.
Did that.
I know. It's going to be a really not fun process.
Wow, you have fun with that.
God. I know. Anyway, but we're also working on our new website over at the lbrnetwork.com. We've also got some pretty exciting announcements as to some new content that's going to be coming here to the LBR network.
We allowed to talk about that now?
We're going to talk about that a little bit, but we're going to save that towards the end of the show.
No spoilers.
So that we don't get another one of those snide YouTube comments that goes, show actually starts here and gives a time code for when we quote unquote start talking about 14. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, we'll just wait until the end of the show.
Wait, can we?
So that those whiners won't continue to whine in our comment section.
Can we do a juke where we start talking about 14, but then talk about LBR stuff mid time? So they it starts here. Skip minutes 18 through.
I have an idea. No,
59.
we should experiment in a whole new structure of podcasts, like memento style podcast structure, where we're just the conversations are disjointed and we're just going all over the place. You're going to need a map to be able to figure out.
I got a better idea. Choose your own adventure podcast. If you think a Nero should yell at Ascalia, fast forward to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If you think that a Nero should...
You mean 2 minutes 30 seconds, 2 minutes 45 seconds, also 3 minutes, also 4 minutes.
Well, the other option is for Ascalia to get on his hands and knees and...
that's the whole episode.
That part's deleted.
Oh, man. Anyway, so before we get to our FF14 news, we do want to remind you that we're supported by Alamo City Comic-Con, and before you YouTube commenters just lose your shit, this is really cool. We've got some really great announcements along with this one, okay? So just hold on to your asses, all right? Alamo City Comic-Con, October 28th through the 30th, Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in San Antonio, Texas. Limit Break Radio is going to be there. We're going to be making a couple of major, big announcements, not just on our part, but for conventions. Like, seriously, guys, you're going to be wanting to pay attention on to what we're going to be announcing out at Alamo City Comic-Con. And we're super excited that they asked us to do it. So if you're a fan of...
It's been the longest 8 months of our lives trying to keep this under wraps.
I know. If you're a fan of Limit Break Radio, if you're a fan of Final Fantasy, you're going to want to be paying attention. So Alamo City Comic-Con, October 28th through the 30th at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. Some recent celebrity guest announcements include John Barrowman. Currently, he plays Malcolm Merlin. Is that?
He's in Arrow, right?
Yeah, that's in from Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow. But he also played Captain Jack Harkness on Torchwood and Doctor Who. Also announced Jason motherfucking Mewes. That's right. Your boy's gonna be getting fucked up with Jason Mewes, Jay and Silent Bob. Jay from Jay and Silent Bob is going to be out there. No word yet on whether Kevin Smith is going to be joining them, but along with Jason Mewes, Brian O'Halloran, who played Dante from Clerks, who I've met before and is a really cool dude.
Awesome.
Jeremy London, who played TS on Mallrats, who was also in Party of Five and Seventh Heaven, is going to be out there. And so a bunch of people from the View Askew universe is going to be out there. And the artist Guy Gilchrist, who was the co-creator of the Muppet Babies and who had worked on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 90s cartoon and Tom and Jerry, is also going to be out there. So a lot of really, really fantastic celebrity guest announcements just in this last week alone. And that's just a fraction of the guest list. Make sure that you go check out AlamoCityComicCon.com for a full guest list and join us out in San Antonio in October. It's pretty much just after FanFest. And if you're going to be out at FanFest, man, so are we. And we're getting some plans together for an after party. It's funny. The after party last year, like, really the plans didn't come together until like about a week and a half before the event.
In true LBR fashion.
And it still turned out fine.
Yeah.
It still turned out totally fine. So we're not sweating it at all. We don't have plans, but we've got a lot of intent. We've got some intentions. We're figuring it out.
Bad intentions.
Whatever. We're looking for a place to go get fucked up and play video games if we can.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's the thing, is that it's, I mean, since Insert Coins closed, it's really actually difficult to find a place where you can drink and play games at the same time. So we're trying to figure it out. We may have to choose one or the other.
If the game you're playing is poker, it's not hard to find.
That is true. That is absolutely true. So yeah, we're excited for FanFest and excited to meet and hang out with you guys out there. All right, so let's check out what's going on in FF14 news.
This is a Limit Breaking News Update.
So, in sort of unofficial news, we've got the Orzean census. This was some data taken from Lodestone, and this was kind of rotated around and discussed a lot this past week. Guys, what are some of your thoughts? I mean, did you guys take a close look at the census here? Because it's weird that we haven't gotten one from Square Enix themselves.
That's exactly what I thought as soon as I saw this. I'm like, wait, this isn't an official census? Why aren't we getting one from them?
Right. Isn't that odd?
I don't know. It's neat. They just took like a sample size of like 9,000 to 10,000 people on each server to do as their sample for what it is. So it's not exact, but I don't know. It's neat.
There sure is a lot of graphs in here.
Boy, is there.
I love graphs.
I mean, it even takes... dude, it's even taking my computer some time to load.
I took a calculus test that looked exactly like that, I swear to God.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that there's anything that out of here that I'm gleaning that I didn't already just have sort of a general sense of by playing the game.
Spoilers, there's lots of female cat girls.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of male cat girls.
Still on that, eh?
What?
Male cat girls. It drives me nuts.
Why does that make you drive you nuts?
I don't know why that makes me so mad. Male cat girls?
Let's be honest. There's female cat girls and there's male cat girls. There's no cat men in this game. They're all girls. Cat girls.
Oh, God, help me. Far be it for me to critique gender terms, but good Lord.
Yeah, seriously.
I thought the kind of like rarity breakdown, the percentage rarity breakdown of minions was kind of interesting. If I gave a shit about minions, but they also had it in there for mounts as well.
I'm surprised there's actually a lot more Rogadin than I thought there would be. There's like a couple percent.
Yeah,
that's actually really surprising.
A lot of people play Rogadin because Rogadins are badass.
I thought Nika was the only one.
You keep saying this, Nika, but I'm not sure you know what the definition of badass is.
I do. Look at
if it's just bad.
It's not
with big ass.
It's not that your ass is bad. Like, I mean, if that's, I could forgive you if you thought that's what.
Maybe she's got like a 3-legged donkey. It's her badass.
Oh my God, that was a dad joke if I've ever heard it. Ugh.
That was good. Good joke, Pop. I like that.
He can have that one. That's fine.
I'm playing that.
Again, I'm just not sure that there was a whole lot in here that was all that surprising. You know what I mean?
Maybe that's why they haven't put out a census.
Maybe.
Spoilers, you already know.
You kind of just have
Well, yeah, I mean,
kind of
just look like last year's. I'll tell you everything you need to know.
All it was is interesting to me is when you go down from server to server, like nothing really changes. Where I seem to recall back in like 11, sometimes you see a server, you're like, whoa, what is up with all like the male Humes on this server? Like
Right.
you'd have like just one server with like 50% male Humes.
Yeah. So anyway,
Oh my God, there's a wind-up realm.
Yeah.
How do I get that?
Well, I don't
Art
know.
book?
Apparently, it's difficult to
Jesus.
obtain. I don't know.
Oh my God, they have a spoony bard. Why do you have to buy really expensive things to get these awesome minions? That's not fair.
Finding out how corporations work.
Yeah, is this your first time playing this? All right. So the FF14 3-year anniversary celebration is getting underway. Excuse me, I almost burped there. With a 14-hour stream this Friday, the 26th, starting at 8 p.m. Pacific.
Any guesses on what they're going to be streaming for 14 hours?
No.
Yokai Watch. Definitely.
That's all it's going to be.
Fates again.
It's going to be like, I wonder if I can get all of these Yokai Watch bundles by the time this one live letter is done.
Doesn't
like they
that
did with Atma or whatever?
Can you think of anything you want to watch less?
No.
In the entire world?
No.
I would rather watch episodes of Yokai Watch.
I mean, the first, I think the first year that they did the Fate thing, it was kind of interesting to watch because, it was sort of a novelty. Like,
Right.
it's that show Man vs. Food.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, who's going to be able to give out first? Is it going to be the Fates or is it going to be this poor person?
Or is Adam Richmond going to keel over?
Right. Yeah. It sort of felt a little bit like that, but anymore, I don't know. This. Maybe it's just because
I'm grinding for yokai mounts.
Well,
Who
yeah.
cares?
So exciting.
No, it's
That
not.
HQ.
They
Whisperer Gogo.
probably will get some crossover viewership because of it. I don't know. I still don't think that this is terribly effective. But whatever. I'm an old crotchety angry man. So
I really want to
that's
play
fine.
Yokai Watch now. I want to learn more about these awesome characters.
We're going to get this horrifying FanFest announcement where, like, during the Yokai Watch event, attendance or population in the game went up so much, and we're just going to have to eat a ton of shit.
Oh my God. I don't have a sense of that at all.
No. me
What
neither.
if
So
the population went up so much that we're going to get like a yokai dungeon and we have to like fight their yokai monsters?
My experience
I'm
of
pretty
playing
sure
14
yokai-
right now is a Yokai dungeon.
But isn't Yokai Watch like Pokemon sort of where you collect things? I don't think there could really be a fight against Yokai Monster Dungeon.
No, like we go into a portal, right, to a different world, kind of like when Lightning came here. But we'll go to Yokai Land, and then we'll fight all the yokais, and at the end we can
And
get
capture them like Pokemon.
Well, if we want to, yeah, it could be a
But
mechanic
that's
for a
the
boss
point
fight.
that's the point of Yokai Watch, isn't it? Is to collect them
You have to wear
like
the
Pokemon.
the watch too, otherwise you can't enter the dungeon.
Right, but
so you
I
lose a
don't-
piece of gear.
Anero, if this happens, will you unsubscribe with me? You want to go do something else?
you done?
And you can only use the weapons too, obviously.
Oh my God.
And
I'm done.
And it should be like a huge zone, right? And only people who have the Whisper mounts can mount up.
Oh, good. I can't go there? Sweet. I'm in. That's a great event.
Also, it's the end game content.
He takes the Daniel Tosh approach to this. He starts off with a joke that has mass appeal and works until only he's laughing.
That sounds about right, actually. Yeah. You had a studio of people staring at you. No one was laughing. Oh God.
I could stare at you harder through my screen. I would.
Yeah. I mean,
Let's just be honest. I'm hard right now.
Seriously, though, like, what could they possibly announce at this anniversary stream with FanFest 2 months away?
that's
3.5? That's it, right?
That's kind of a good point.
Like, nothing big is getting announced at this. I can't imagine.
No, I don't see anything. I mean, we've got. We do have 3.38 dropping.
Just to stop.
Fixed an error.
It really looked like it hurt you to say that.
It did.
It did.
It kind of did.
That was legit pain on his face right there. Am I correct in saying that there is not an English stream of this going out? It's just going to be Japanese again?
Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, is that really that surprising?
No,
we kind of knew that. We knew that.
We need to hire a translator for 14 hours.
They'll probably talk about the those Ishgard housing units.
You think?
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that. That'd be neat.
Think they're going to preview that for 3.4.
Yeah, maybe they will talk, because there's been a few things that they've mentioned, and that maybe we'll finally get a confirmation that they're coming the next patch.
I mean, let's be honest, because everything most everything that we're gonna get out of FanFest is going to be directly related to what 3.4. Do you think? No, 3.4 will probably have just dropped, right?
I think 3.4 will be in at least 3 to 4 weeks.
Oh, you think?
I think 3.4 will probably be
close.
It's that close? God,
isn't it end of September? Probably-ish. Is that what we're looking at?
Dude, I don't even know. I don't even know.
15-hour stream?
It's the 26th.
Okay, so that's probably what they're going to talk about then.
Okay, yeah, then they could end up previewing 3.4.
Yeah, it says catch a glimpse of what's to come in the patch 3.4.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Preview part 1.
Oh, well, there you go.
So,
part 1 preview.
Finally, we'll have something to talk about.
We'll have part 2 later. And then after FanFest, 3.4 will drop.
After FanFest?
Wow.
Oh my God.
They have to go good lead up to part 2.
Hang on. Nika, I'm trying to remember the year that we went to FanFest. Were they previewing a patch out there, or had a patch just dropped? I cannot remember.
Everything they talked about at FanFest was the expansion.
Yeah, that's...
literally the opening ceremonies day 1, they didn't even come out and talk. We just sat down in the audience, and they started with the Heavensward trailer. It was like, bam. Like
right. But there was the trailer that was going on because we had just had the last leg of Coil Drop, or did they preview that? I cannot fucking remember.
They did. Everything they talked about, I feel like, was the expansion.
Oh my God, I cannot honestly remember.
We had a bunch of panels about like lore and music, and like all of the actual panels were about Heavensward.
Yeah. It's hard.
I remember there was like not really a trailer, but like a video that kind of went back in time through all of the patches and kind of like it was like a memory lane of all the patches.
Right. God damn. It's really hard for me to remember. If someone can tell me in the chat.
They said it was right after 2.4.
It was right after. Okay, so
maybe we're on the same track then. End of September leading into FanFest?
Yeah, that may be right. That may be right.
So what, 3.55 then sometime in like November or March?
Man, I does it feel like the schedule has been thrown off even more? Like, I mean, I guess I'm surprised to hear that 3.4 is coming around the corner so closely, but I don't know. I don't know. I
feel like it was off and we got used to it being off, and now it's getting back on track, and that's throwing us again.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I have to admit though, I've been forced to kind of check out for the last couple of weeks. So.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Okay, so during this 14-hour thing, there's a thing called Adrenaline Rush TV, a special program for PvP enthusiasts. They totally cribbed our name. Adrenaline Rush is the limit break of PvP.
That's funny. Well, and I used to have a radio show called Adrenaline Radio.
But not Adrenaline Rush.
No. We did 5-song Adrenaline Rushes.
But Adrenaline Rush is a real thing that happens, so I'm not sure you can claim that.
I mean, it is sort of like a take on our name, though.
Okay, Limit Break Radio, Adrenaline Rush TV. How is this not like
oh my God,
corollaries?
If they had named it Limit Break TV, that'd be amazing.
That would have been.
Oh my gosh.
That's an interesting find. Also, all right, so the third installment of Tales from the Dragon Song War is available on the Lodestone. It's titled A Malm in Her Shoes. Features Alice and her exploits during the war. I actually hadn't read this. I read the first one.
The second and third ones are up now.
The first one was pretty good. I have to say, it was pretty interesting.
You can look forward to Ascalia reading it in his Obama voice later down in the week.
Yeah, I'll do that on my first stream this week.
It's only like...
Let's do audiobook versions of them.
14 pages long.
God, yeah, they are very long, but it's some good expositional lore. If you'd like to check that out, that's over on the Lodestone.
Juxta, you joke, but I like that idea. I'm gonna start doing that.
You're welcome.
And, of course, as we had said before, patch 3.38 hits Tuesday.
Oh, actually, Dirty Randy says he wants to do the German voice, so maybe we should just read it in all your voices. So read it like 14 times.
Oh, my God. And then you can pick which voice you want.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, my God.
Dear Lord.
All right, so that's pretty much it for FF14 news. Guys, we'd love to hear from you. On Skype, Limit Break Radio, 810-515-8715, and limitbreakradio.com/Discord. It's interesting. We touched off, I feel like we touched on a nerve last week by comparing FF11 and 14. Because, we received a lot of feedback.
What did we even say last week?
We just touched on a nerve this time. We've done that for years now.
Oh, no, I know. But specifically, there's, we've been seeing some YouTube comments and some...
No, not YouTube comments.
Emails, tweets.
I was gone for 1 week. What did you guys do last week?
No, we talked about FF11 and 14, but as a part of that discussion, Joe Never Fails had called up and had challenged us on some of the maybe, I don't know, more critical aspects of what we were saying,
and we won, and we definitely won that one.
And we had a really interesting discussion, and I think it touched on it touched on a number of things that either players have been thinking about for a while or wanting to discuss, because we have received so much email in the last 2 weeks. Like, squall of whatever. That's part of it. But in the last 2 weeks, like, we've received a ton of emails. So we're going to read a bunch of your emails on the show today. But we also want to take your calls. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Kookie's hanging out. She's going to be taking your calls and bouncing you down to us. We want to talk to you. Really, we want to talk specifically. I mean, we'll talk about anything, but really, we want to talk specifically to the people who may disagree with us that there are some, that there are some critically broken aspects of 14. Not maybe broken, but critically lacking aspects in 14. Last week's show, a lot of what that was set up by a Kotaku article. And again, we want to thank the author for coming on and talking to us. And it was a really interesting discussion in there, saying that, it was the difficulty of that game that really brought its community together and really was the thread that was what sewn us together. And I thought it was an interesting time, because we do talk a lot about FF11 and we do, of course, compare it to FF14. In large part, that's a lot of the history of the show. We started as an FF11 show.
It's a lot of our gaming history.
It's a lot of our gaming history, absolutely. But I also think that, it's not uncommon to look at the way that a game developer has developed their game in the past, to maybe take cues of what they did well moving forward in the future. And what strikes me and what has always kind of stricken me about FF14, specifically about A Realm Reborn, is how much of a difference it is from FF11, and how little of the concepts that they had refined to be, I think, and what I remember as really fun in FF14, and how they took some of those concepts and, didn't end up carrying them on to 14 in any form or fashion.
If you think about it, like, only Cat Girls was the thing that was carried over.
I don't think that's not necessarily true.
Well, Gulkas were destroyed. I mean, Rogan don't have tails. Elezen here. Those are two obviously in common. Come on.
Oh, yeah?
Humans and elves, really?
Fair.
You can't. It's kind of hard to have a fantasy role-playing game without humans and elves.
Right.
Yeah.
And even like our current elves are like the more strong.
What about Lalafell and Taru?
I guess.
You call them halfling, I guess.
Yeah.
I would. Halfling race.
The noses are just too different.
Well, they're kind of like they're either like a halfling or a dwarf. You know what I mean? Like they're the small race.
That's little doll
what they
thing.
are. Yeah, they're the tiny one. Yeah. I'm sure that there are dwarves out there who would take offense to that, but and no, I'm not talking about real life dwarves. Okay, I'm talking about in
Gimli's pissed.
God damn it!
I'm sorry.
Last thing I need is more people mad at me. God damn.
Don't you live off and thrive off of that?
I do.
The Elder Primal of Salt.
I do, but
gives no fucks.
Jesus Christ! Between this and the Pokemon Go Twitter, it's
how
like
much salt do you get out of that? By the way,
oh my God, it is an unending salt mine. Trust me. But look, we want to talk to you guys about whether or not you agree with that assessment or not. I mean, part of Limit Break Radio has always been, we have open phone lines and we allow you guys to call in and be a part of the show and allow you guys to express your opinions. Now, it doesn't mean that we're necessarily going to agree with you. If there's something that we disagree with, we're likely to give our own opinion. I mean, if history is to be believed.
And tell you you're wrong.
Yeah, well.
And yell at you.
Might be part of it.
And call you bad names like Squall Loves Dick.
I don't think we ever went that route.
No, I don't think we threw any cheap shots.
No.
Well, I mean, we said he had a stroke a bunch of times. That was before he called in and talked to us to our face.
Kidding, obviously.
And then we confirmed the other we definitely want to hear from you, and we'll be reading your emails because we haven't read emails. We used to actually dedicate an entire
show,
an entire episode to doing just emails
and fumfuls.
Fumfuls.
I love fumfuls.
I miss fumfuls.
Yeah, where's the fumful?
Yeah, how come people don't send us fumfuls anymore? Oh, because no one's playing.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what? I got a fumful. Hashtag fumful. We have no fumfuls ever.
Logged in to realize all there was to do was Yokai Watch event. Fumful.
By the way,
Man, so not cool.
if you're if you're newer to the show and you don't know that bit, that's hashtag FMFFL. If you've got some Final Fantasy fail that you want to share, tag it with hashtag FMFFL. We occasionally will peruse that hashtag and see what you guys have left us, and we'll read it for you on the show. But let's actually spend some time on this episode reading emails, because again, we haven't done this in a long time and we've had a lot of emails in the last couple of weeks. So who wants to start us off here with our first email from Hell Asgar?
I will.
All right, go ahead.
Get down past this. All right, here we go. Hello, LBR crew. After last week's episode about dissecting the differences between FF11 and FF14, I wanted to provide some input as a recently returning player to FF11. To make a long story shorter, a friend and I were farming a coffer in Temple of Ugelepe last night. For those unfamiliar with FF11, Temple of Ugelepe is a Tonberry Hell dungeon.
Temple of Ugly People, say right.
Of course.
Temple of Ugelepe. Ugelepe.
What about this game had just impossible to pronounce words?
We never
Excabard.
We never have characters who come along. Who come along and say it definitively. So it's all kind of always up in the air.
Remember when we pronounced Kurthus as Curthius or something?
Coerthus, yeah.
Coerthus.
I remember looking up the Japanese text of it to see how it was supposed to be sounded out for different things in 11.
Oh, good job, nerd.
That's how. By the way, that's how you find out that it's Bastook.
You're a Bastook.
Nice job.
Anyway, we farmed the key and began searching all the possible coffer locations. We narrowed it down to one possible location behind two doors that require two separate keys to open, and the keys are consumed on use. We left corridor after corridor full of dead Tonberries searching for both keys. Everyone's grudge is now a one-shot to either of us at level 60. Finally, we found both keys only to discover 5 to 6 higher level Tonberries who aggroed us as soon as we opened the door. We were dead and I knew it. My friend and our trust while tanking the room my friend and our trust begin tanking the room while I searched for the coffer. I found it and traded my coffer key. Your inventory is full. Fuck. I drop some pots of honey and begin to trade again. Verlin receives Tonberry coat. Your inventory is full. Fuck. At this point, the Tonberries had ripped through my friend and our trust and were now attacking me. I dropped some fire crystal and traded the coffer key again. This time I got it. My AF body piece. The Tonberries stabbed me to death before I could make it 3 steps. Mission accomplished. In most games, death means failure 100% of the time. In FF14, you die in a dungeon, trial, or raid, then you are bad and brought the whole team down. If the whole party dies, it's a wipe. Outside of the orbs and Ultima's Ballad, I can't really think of a place where you can sacrifice yourself for your team. But in FF11, even with the XP loss when you die, sometimes completing the objective or helping your friend complete their objective is more important than surviving. Hell Asgar of Sargatanas.
That sounds like an FMFFL to me.
No, it's not.
No, he got the
what he
AF body. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
no, he won.
What a great story.
Everything leading up to it is horrible.
Oh yeah, any one of those had that just been the end of the story, would have been a fumful.
Oh yeah. No, but what I think that's an epic story, and I think it kind of encapsulates part of what we're talking about. From my perspective, my whole thing is like, look, I can't. First of all, I can't lay 100% of my demotivation for FF14. I can't lay 100% of that at Square Enix's feet. And I feel like that needs to be said in the interest of, being transparent. Yeah. Because I've got some very real time restrictions that is happening in my life that prevents me from really devoting any amount of time to really any video game. I think the most amount of time that I've spent playing a game outside of Pokemon Go is Soul Silver, right? Because I'm, you can
do it in the car, or if you're in the passenger, not while you're driving, but you can do it wherever.
It's true, yeah, and it's a game like. I think a lot of people have heard me extol the virtues of remote play on the Vita and stuff like that. There are still, there's still some very real time restrictions that come along with that, and your network has to be 100% awesome. I'm talking about the Vita to PS4 remote play, which a lot of that has fallen off because I can't guarantee the quality of Wi-Fi while I'm at work, and it has gotten frankly frustrating. But anyway, like I said,
this will all be a lot easier when we can talk about what's sapping our time. When we can actually finally talk about that, it'll be great.
Yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show. But suffice it to say, those real life time constraints, they are what they are. But at the same time, when I would have time constraints that would take me away from FF11, I felt like I was losing out on something by not being logged on, right? Mm-hmm. I felt like every day that I didn't log on, I was like, I missed an opportunity, right? I don't feel that way about 14. And the fact that I don't feel that way about 14 was sort of like that's the thesis of the last episode and sort of what we're talking about in this discussion here.
I don't know why I feel so opposite of you. I feel like in 11 I didn't miss much because the same NMs I missed today will also pop tomorrow. There was nothing I missed in 11 because there were no tomes to cap that if I didn't cap they were literally gone for the week. There was none of that in 11. In 14 I feel like if I'm not logging in I'm like shit, I missed my roulette. I might not cap this week. Fuck, I need to log in. Whereas in 11, I'm like, well, okay, I missed the spawn today. I'll just farm it tomorrow.
Well, you kind of have the same thing, though, in 11, where you had, Dynamis, where you could only go once every so often, so if you missed it, that was another day you had to wait later.
Yeah, but the thing is that my link shell did Dynamis literally every 3 days, so if I missed one, I was not too heartbroken about it.
Yeah, and Nero was a lot more comfortable with missing being a Darknet in 11. And in 14, Darknets just don't miss as much.
Oh, fun.
Zing.
Oh, wow.
Bring it old school.
Yeah. Forgot about those.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah. But maybe it was the fact that I didn't have, a link shell that I felt like I could rely on for any sort of end game activity, because I really did feel like if I missed out on it, that was it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe my link shell was going today, maybe they weren't, and it was sort of a crapshoot of what I could do when I logged on. But that was sort of like, that was also kind of the adventure of it too. Like, hey, let's see what shouts are going on, and maybe I can do an assault today. And I mean, like, dude, I definitely lagged behind in my progression on 11. But again, I just part of it is I'm trying to figure out why I don't feel as the pull as much with 14 being forced to step away. I mean, I got a lot of people saying like, "Oh, you should just quit. You should just quit. Why do you
just quit?
Yeah,
bro.
don't even.
There's nothing else to do in the game.
Don't even fight. Why even play? Why play the game? Why even do your show? Well, okay. First of all, for anyone that made that suggestion, I think that you forget that I stayed hanging on through this game all the way through 1.0, and I stayed contributing to the community all the way through 1.0 until the server was taken down, right? Like, my contributions through Gamer Escape and through Aetheryte Radio, I have been active in every single era of this game. And there's no way that just a down period or being disappointed with the content is going to make me say, fuck it, I'm done. I'm going to pack my gear and go home. It's just not going to happen. I think you're forgetting who you're talking to, because I've been here. I've been here. So I didn't go anywhere to begin with. All right. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that I really do believe that criticism is one of the ways to make things better. Even if it's difficult to hear, even if it's frustrating to hear, even if you don't agree with it, that having critical discussions about points like this, and in points like this where there is, and it's not just me, there's a lot of people who are feeling it right now. There's this lull in content that, you got to talk about it. You have to talk about it, because if you're not talking about it, Square Enix isn't going to take any feedback from that. If we just say, "Oh, well, we're just not going to do LBR this week," what good does that do anybody? Right?
Although,
Nothing.
I think that Phoenix Games has a point when he says that part of the reason we might not feel the pull as much is because we're older, we have lives, we understand priority, and that we know that games cannot be our full priority in our life, and so that because of that we don't feel the pull. I can tell you when I'm in college, that's all I cared about. I didn't have any other priorities. I would go to class, come home, and play, and that was literally all I would do. And I didn't give a shit about anything else.
Yeah,
and
but
I do think that that's part of it. I mean, if we were 15 playing this game right now, I do think our outlook on this would also be different.
It might be, but I mean, I think, that's why we put it out there last week to any 15-year-olds or anyone who is, this is their first MMO and they have the first MMO syndrome. Like, I would love to hear from you guys, because, you're absolutely right. And we admitted that it might be rose-colored glasses, it might be first MMO syndrome, and it might be age. That's all very true. But at the same time, like, I'm also, I feel compelled by other games in a way that I don't feel compelled by 14. And that's not nostalgia or time. Like, I feel more compelled by Pokemon Go in the last couple of weeks. I felt more compelled before this by Dark Souls to keep playing it than I have for 14. And so you have to admit, at some point when you're running up against that inside yourself, like at what point do you just say, damn, like, I just don't, you just have to embrace and admit, like, I am really just not motivated to play FF14. I think admitting that is way more honest than coming out here and doing the show and going, yeah, I'm still really into FF14.
Go do those yokai fates.
Yeah, right. Like,
get the weapon.
I feel like that would be extremely disingenuous. And I'm not going to do that. I'm not prepared to do that. I'm not prepared to hold back any of my criticism. We did that for 6 years with FF11, and I mean, I will be the first to admit it. I've talked about this a bunch of times. We tried to be a cheerleader for that game. We tried to represent that game and put our best foot forward and really try to be a community and a community source and all of these other high-minded things.
No, don't flash back!
That you know, I think some of the audience ends up putting that expectation there, and you know, and not unfairly, because we had really tried to do that in our FF11 days, but it didn't get us anywhere, right? Like at the end of that road, at the end of all of that, we had one appearance by Square Enix, by the community team on the show, and it was a great interview, and those guys are awesome, and they're always welcome back. But when you weigh that up against the
having a good show,
having a good show, having an entertaining show, and the amount of slippage that game went through, and that we didn't talk about, like just the backsliding and the decline of FF11, the amount of times that we didn't talk about it, to me I thought that was a problem, and there's just no way that you're going to that's going to be this show. Like, I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to miss that opportunity again. So, I mean, you know, for all those people that are just like, oh, pack it up in Euro, you're done. You're clearly you don't like this game. No, you know what? That's not true. I love this game. And the fact that I'm sitting here still continuing to think about it and criticize it and be engaged with it, I think that says it all right there. So let's go to our phone lines. We've got Shinta Sin from Ultros hanging on. Shinta, what's going on, man?
Hey, long time no talk.
Yeah, how you doing? It's been a while since we've heard from you.
Oh, I mean, it's you know, you have your things going on, like with your job and whatnot, which, by the way, congratulations for. But yeah, I recently had like a lot of stuff come down the pipeline and work for me as well, and it's gonna lower for me. So I'm actually getting back into the normal swing of things like I used to. So
right, well, and
yeah.
Well, you know, and one of the things that I keep thinking about is, you know, I'm coming off unemployment. I was coming off 20 weeks of unemployment, and even in those 20 weeks, you know, when I was gauging my enthusiasm in the amount that I was playing, I mean, yeah, it's a lot more than I'm logging in now, but it still wasn't as much as it could have been, or the amount of free time that I had. And
I totally get you.
You know what I mean? Like, and that, I think is for me, that's partially frustrating, because, you know, I think I would have liked to be that enthused or that engaged in that time. But anyway,
I mean,
Shinta,
the ironic thing is, like, our situations are really not that far apart. Like, I played Final Fantasy XI for nearly a decade, and I was also a Dark Knight main, so, you know, the struggles of, you know, doing anything for the most part there were pretty real.
Yeah.
Do you miss it?
What was that?
Do you miss it?
Honestly, it's a love-hate relationship, and the reason for that is
for so many.
The game in general was great. Don't get me wrong, but a game is also made on its player base, and I've had my share of dealing with the best of people, which I'm still friends with to this day from that game.
Sure.
And then I've dealt with a lot of assholes. And
yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, but that's the same in every MMO. But the game itself was great, and do I miss the game? Yeah, I completely miss the game. If it was up to me, I totally would spend more time, as much as I used to back in the day, playing that game. Like, I loved it. I had my Apocalypse. I had everything going on for my Dark Knight for the most part. But you know, and then, you know, this game came along, you know, 14, and I totally get you, because like the shift from 11 to 14 is kind of drastic, because 14, I call it disposable content, because like the content is made, and then something else is made to make everything else inferior or really not needed.
Right.
And the only time that would be needed is if they do some stupid thing where they make you go do face for a goddamn relic weapon. But, you know, that's besides the case. Whereas Final Fantasy XI didn't really have, you know, that basically you can go play. You could still go do Sky, like probably to this day, I imagine. I have not played the game.
You can solo it.
Yeah,
I can confirm this.
It's not nearly as fun or as like memorable as it was.
It's not, but anymore. FF11 isn't supposed to be, right? Like, I think what's kind of remarkable and kind of cool that the FF11 dev team has done is that they've turned that aging game into a theme park. Like, you get to,
yes.
That's a good way to put it.
Welcome to Vanadil Land.
It sort of is, but I mean, like, it took so long to get there that now it's justifiable. There's so little people who are logged on that if they tried to maintain that old structure, that there would be no way that the game would be able to function. Okay, but what's interesting and I guess a little bit tangential to your point. But
I didn't get to the point just yet, and I'm sorry for being long-winded with that, but keep going.
Well, I was just going to say, now we're all mixed up. Why don't you go first?
No, you go first.
Yeah, and then I'll figure out where the hell I am.
So, like, when you decide to play an MMO, it basically has its set development plan, the way that the game plays, like its content. And you either have to, you either love it or you hate it. And if you hate it, it's one of those things where, you're just going to probably, either not log in as much, maybe even quit the game. And this is not me saying you should quit the game, by the way. It's just one of those things that just happens when you engage yourself in content that, you don't have to. You usually end up questioning yourself. And it was the same basically for me. Like, I got to a point where with Final Fantasy XIV, I only logged in every Tuesday and Thursday to run with my static. Now, the static broke up, and now I'm in a situation where it's like, all right, so what do? Do I jump servers and try to engage other people with raiding? Do I try to, maybe just do something else? Do I have to should I level another job to occupy my time? Like, it's just one of those things where Square Enix is going to listen up until a point, but I guess, like, after years of playing this game, I kind of know what to expect myself from this particular development path. I know that I'm going to get a 24-man dungeon. Then I know I'm going to get some, more dungeons to, cap out whatever ESOs will be now into the future.
Well, but I think that's
and yes, it's bland. It is completely bland, and I don't really support them doing that because it's just very repetitive and it's a lazy way of developing because it's just like, okay, so 6 months from now we have to develop a new 24-man raid, and then 6 months from now we have to go ahead and develop a new endgame raid. Like, it is lazy development. And while they have put in bits and pieces of new content, they don't support that at all. Like, I forgot what the hell that imitation Sky thing was.
Diadem.
Yeah, Diadem. Yeah, I don't even engage in it so much I don't even know what the name of it is. Like, they don't really support that actively anymore. And I mean, it's just one of those things where I have to now question myself. And you guys run a radio show. You guys have a great community, by the way. And I know that this is like your livelihood. You should, I'm not saying what you should do, but there's definitely something that, fuels you to actually care about this game so much that I'm sure that you guys can definitely think of something, especially with everyone that you have supporting you. And people do agree with you, and I do agree with you as well. It's not something that I'm completely disagreeing with.
Right.
But, I mean, it's like how you said in the beginning, the fault doesn't entirely lie with Square Enix, but at the same time, they do have a particular point of responsibility to keep us engaged. Otherwise, they're not getting subs. So
I want to ask you, as well as everybody else, but mostly Shinta, since you're the caller right now, do you actually want a game like 11 where if you weren't logged in, you'd feel like you missed something? Like, if you missed a Nidhogg, oh shit, I've got to wait. Like, with the way that with how our lives are, with the fact that you want to play other games, like, I can tell you, playing FF11, I never played another video game ever because I had to spend all of my time on 11. So now, with the way 14 is structured, you can log in a couple days, do your raid, and then play another game. Like, I don't think I would ever want another game where I would have to, if I wasn't logged in a particular point of time, like if I wanted to go play The Witcher or Metal Gear Solid, I'd be like, well, fuck, I'm going to miss so much content in 14 if I do that I never play any other games. And I'm not entirely sure that I want that.
And you're absolutely right as far as like how real life is nowadays. If I committed myself right now to a game that I did back in 11, where I was also in an H&M shell just like you, and I had to keep my DKP up in order to get the points and everything like that, I probably, with the responsibilities I have right now, go crazy. But at the same
Even
time,
being in
with
college,
14,
like I would just never get to play another game. Like, wouldn't you?
Right.
Like, I just don't think that 14 should be that.
I don't think 14 should be that to the extent that 11 was, but at the same time, I feel like that the work that you put into 14 should have some sort of meaningful purpose for a little bit longer than maybe 3 to 4 months. Well, that's my personal take on it.
But the thing is with 11, like, when you had those times where you didn't play and you missed out on something, that sacrifice, that loss made the things that you did get worth more to you. You felt better about the things you did get because you couldn't. You had to make the choice to put in the work to get them and sacrifice something else.
Exactly. When your reward structure is so ubiquitous that it is just an assumption of an amount of time that you've put in to be able to get that accolade, then it takes something out of the journey of getting it, right? Like if you've got to camp an NM and that NM is on a whatever spawn, you know what I mean? Like there's an intrinsic story to your character of getting that item. Can you tell a story about any of the items that you're wearing on 14? I mean, I can't. It was just, I got it in tomes and yay.
Even your relic.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I did the quests.
Exactly. Like I finished that pre-prescribed linear thing, and I'm just one of the many.
Right now, if there was any system in this game where we had to take a group of even 8 people and where you had to kill the mob 8 times so that every single person in your party got one, and then of course it's going to be the 8th person's turn and everyone has to go to bed, and you say fuck, like that's the same thing with like pony farming. It's horrible. And the thing is, that exists. Pony farming and stuff exists. You can have a story for that kind of drop,
but it's meaningless. It's meaningless.
Drop in this game, like, oh, I gotta go get the O hat, I gotta go get the O coats, I gotta go get my Leaping Lizzie boots. You're literally sitting there competing and you never get the item and you never get the drop, and then everyone goes to bed. It's horrible, and I would probably quit a game like that in this day and age. I would never play it.
But ponies are also one of the only things in this game that people show off with any pride.
Yeah,
because of the work that went into getting them.
It is true.
And putting up with the shittiness.
I don't even do it until they up the drop rates because it's so horrible.
That's fair, but the people who have ponies show them off, and you actually look and you're like, wow, that probably took work.
Why does every MMO have to be like that? Like, I don't have the time or the interest to commit that much time into grinding and horribly hating myself for not getting drops. Like, I don't want a game like that.
That was the compelling reason for me to keep playing an MMO when there's no, like, the other side of that, Nika, is that everything is ubiquitous, all of the rewards are the same, and nothing means anything.
I don't know, I feel like raid gear means something.
If you want to raid. Only if you want to raid. That's
I know people who don't raid that see people in raid gear and they're like, oh, I wish I could do that. That's so cool. Like, their gear looks so cool. Their gear, like, I
don't feel that.
I've never heard anyone say that even once.
So when people first start beating the final tier of each section, like when A4 was first beaten and then when A8 was first beaten, I did see a lot of people saying, oh, that's so cool. Like, they beat the final raid on here.
Look, they've got the same gear that I have for doing something that took a quarter of the work, but they can dye it the funky blue color. Wow, that's really awesome.
Tone gear and the you mean like the prototype gear?
Yeah.
Before I can, 2 months down the line.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I said, it's ubiquitous. It doesn't, like, none of it feels like an actual reward. And I mean, I
feel like if you rated though, you would have a different opinion, because I feel like every time we get a drop from a raid, it feels like a legit reward.
I mean, that's...
Especially when we get, like, the same drops 3 weeks in a row, and then the next week we finally get something useful. It's like, holy fuck, we finally got something good for our group. And you kind of take... And even if it's not for you, I feel like as a group, we kind of have group reward.
Well, like, I never felt that in the entirety of my rating in 2.0.
I don't know, I did.
I definitely didn't. And again, all I'm saying is I'm just admitting that I don't. Like, I'm not... It's not. That's not an indictment of the game. I'm just saying, like, I don't feel that. And as an MMO player, like, don't you kind of want to? Like, isn't that the emotion that you kind of want to elicit in an MMO player? Because that's the reason I started playing MMOs, right? Like, I started like the reason that MMOs kept me was because, man, like when I wasn't there, I felt like a piece of me wanted to be there. You know what I mean? Like I left a little piece of me with my avatar when I walked away from the computer. And I really liked that feeling. It helped absorb me into the world that I was trying to add to. Also, I felt like I was making an impact on the world sometimes. And I just don't ever feel those things in FF14. And I don't know, and I'm totally willing to say that it very well may be a problem with me, right? That just may be where I'm at in my life, but I feel like I've got to say it out loud. And the thing is when I do, other people seem to agree.
That's what I was about to say. Our chat, talk about being split down the middle on the subject.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and I do agree with the people saying that raid gear, I feel like, should be a little bit better or stand out a little bit more. But I just feel like that because this game is a tight group of 8 people rather than a link shell of 80 people, that when we do defeat something, we feel the accomplishment as a team, and that, to me, makes me feel good enough to want to keep playing.
You mentioned earlier, talking about, like, in 11, you didn't feel like that if you didn't log in for a day, you didn't miss anything because the NMs would still be there tomorrow. I kind of have, like, the problem with the same thing. I look at something in 14 right now, like, if I look at any lore piece, I can say, great, I need this many lore tomes, which means I need to log in this many times and do this many dungeons to get it. I can plan it out in a week. I don't feel like I've missed anything there. Whereas in 11, if I'm going for Shikigami weapon and I want my summoner coat, whatever the hell it was called, yin yang robe, it's a 21 to 24 hour spawn. I lose the spawn time if I don't do it, and I only have a such and such chance of getting it, even if I claim it.
I see what you're saying with that stuff, but I don't know. I feel like
and no one is saying get rid of the 14 that we have and replace it with this. What I've been asking is, can you do both? Square Enix and Yoshi P has made some attempts to try to do both in Diadem and in Deep Dungeon. And I don't know that they've worked. Why haven't they worked? And what would work? Like, what structurally would work from that era? Because I feel like there are mechanics that could transfer over, and then there's just shit that would never be able to work, right? Like, I feel like that is a completely valid discussion. That's a completely valid question to be asking, given where I feel I'm at with my motivation on 14. And again, I feel like if I don't admit it, that I'm being disingenuous, or someone's going to feel like I'm lying, or like that I'm trying to fake it. And I don't want to fake my enthusiasm for 14. I don't want to fake my engagement with this game, and I don't want to come out here and lie to you people. I just don't.
And I think this is something that we've seen, like, before. People were talking about how they've gone back and listened to our old episodes. And if you listen, like, from the first episode onwards for the FF14 show, we have periods where we're high on the game. We have periods where we're low on the game.
Absolutely.
It's just, it goes up and down. We're in a bit of a low period right now.
It's ebb and flow.
Yeah. But the thing is I mean, like, I feel like it's been a little bit low for the entirety of Heavensward, which sucks.
It had a brief high period
that
like Deep
sucks
Dungeon.
For me.
No, it had a brief high period when Heavensward came out.
That's true. Yeah.
And then it's kind of...
And then 2 weeks later.
Not even 2 weeks. It was high for...
I'm giving them a little benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
2 weeks, roughly. Maybe a week and a half. Depends on how quickly you level.
I thought the high period was about a month, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say it was a good month.
Because it took a while for, like... Because they released the game, then they released normal mode, then they released savage mode, and I feel like that all of that was about a month of us kind of learning the new... how they were going to do this. I'd say a month.
That was terrible. It just made the whole opening of Heavensward drag out so hard.
But we weren't feeling that at the time. Now we see that.
Yeah.
Nerdword in the chat says that, like, a lot of people romanticize it because it was their first MMO, but for most of us, I don't think it was.
It was definitely not.
It wasn't mine.
It was definitely not.
You say it wasn't your first one you spent that much time investing.
Oh, absolutely.
No, it was the first MMO that I mean, that I really invested, like, God, like 10 years or something in. But that was not the first MMO that I had ever gotten to like endgame with.
Yeah, it was for me.
Ultima Online, I had definitely gotten to endgame, and I was doing their version of dungeons. I was killing dragons and stuff like that. Like I actually played. I had spent a lot of time in Ultima Online.
Did you accumulate dragon kill points?
No, there were none of that. It was just
What?
It was like a loot system. That was it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean like DKP, like for your link shell or whatever it was called.
Oh, yes, sure did.
I don't even like admitting it, but I was a huge Ragnarok Online player before FF11.
I tried to play that, and then like
it's hard. Like, it was hard to get into.
But I mean, even before FF11, I had spent time in Asheron's Call 2. I had spent time with. It's not quite an MMO. It was more like a visual chat program, but Active Worlds was another one.
I remember that one.
Yeah, right.
I remember Active Worlds.
Let's see.
More like inactive worlds. Am I right?
EverQuest. I had.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I had a character on EverQuest. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely not my first MMO, but it was the first MMO that really, really sucked me in and kept me there and held me.
Yeah.
Ultima Online, interestingly enough, Ultima Online was not an MMO that I left willingly. That was another one where, and we all go through this. Like right now, I do have a lot of my real life invading my ability to play, and that happens. It doesn't matter what age you are. I was 16, 17 years old when that happened for the first time in Ultima Online, but it took me out of Ultima Online long enough for the game to have moved on without me, and for me to go, I don't know what the fuck to do to catch up. It never really felt like a criticism or anything. Like, I never felt like mad that I couldn't catch up. I just felt like, wow, the game evolved without me. And I thought, like, how cool that a game can do that, right? Like, it was one of those where, yeah, you leave, if you leave for long enough, you lose enough of the context.
But that's bad business model nowadays. That's why 14 and a lot of current MMOs are not like that at all. Because you don't want a new player or someone to leave for so long and come back and feel so lost they can't catch up and they quit, which is kind of what 11 became after a while.
So you want your current players to feel like none of their stuff they do even matters, and they can quit and then come back whenever they want?
Right. And then new players are just handed the shit.
But I'm saying for a business model.
But I don't think 11 did do that. I think like once you were level 75, you had or could at least have your entryway into any endgame content.
It felt like that after the level cap started raising, I feel like.
Sure, but I mean
that's like 6 years
not,
though.
But that's a long time into the release.
You know what, Nika? Anymore? Like honestly, when you go back and look at it, I think that the changes that they had made to FF11 were necessary given the dwindling population, and I think it was more reactionary because that game was a bit more broken than we realized towards the end before they made some of those major XP adjustments with like Abyssia and stuff like that. It was very difficult for anyone who had not already committed a significant amount of time to be able to play that game, and it was definitely not new player friendly at all. So I feel like a lot of those changes were absolutely reactionary and had to happen for that game to even be a viable game as a game. Not even an MMO, but a viable game as a game. By the way, Shinta-Sin, thank you for your call. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Kookie's standing by to take your call.
By the way, I still got this image in my head of Vanadil Land, the theme park, which I think we definitely need to make into a video series, because I want a roller coaster where you pass by Sky and it's like, and here we have the world of yesterday, where you can still see 12 dragoons sitting on the sideline waiting to get rotated into the party so they can attack with their sword one time. Huzzah!
That's definitely...
I played 11 yesterday, and I actually went up to Sky for whatever reason.
Just a little god?
No, because actually there were people farming for Despot.
Are you kidding?
There was someone chain pulling all the groundskeepers and AoEing them down. I'm like, huh.
Wow. I actually the last time I had logged on to FF11, I had a full Sky pop set, and I just went out and blew Kieran out for.
I would say my first night streaming 11 by myself. I went up, farmed all the gods, and then farmed Kieran.
Yeah,
and we
did that together too. We went up and we killed Kieran before he even summoned any of the gods. It was ridiculous.
Me and when Chase was playing with me, him and I tried to duo Absolute Virtue our first night back.
Oh wow! How did that go?
We did really well until he started just benedictioning, and we're like, oh yeah, wait, we're never going to be able to get past this.
Yeah,
Is this easy mode?
Oh, God.
You just have to bring a white mage with you to benediction within 5 seconds, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, that's what it is. I held it on my Beastmaster while he went back to switch over to white mage.
FF11.
Good times.
Yeah. All right. Who wants to take this next email from Arkari Lyburn? Anyone? Nika?
I went first.
Nika?
I can. I just have to scroll down. I found it. Okay, I can do it.
There you go.
Okay. I was scrolled up way far. All right, here we go. Dear LBR, Akari Lyburn from Cerberus here. I've been listening for pretty much over a year. However, as I'm in Ireland and our time zones don't match, I usually end up listening on YouTube during the week at work. Firstly, I'd just like to say thank you for keeping it real. I've seen lots of white knights for this game, but it is sadly and objectively going down the shitter. For me, this is incredibly hard to stomach. FF14 was my first MMO, here we go, which I started at the open beta. I've been with my FC for the last 2-ish years, and I've made friends for life through it. I talk to my static more than I do real-life friends sometimes, and the camaraderie we have is amazing. However, one thing that is totally not amazing is how boring this game has become. Of course, you're going to get the people who are saying, OMG, you're not making the most of the game, and you know what? They may be right. Maybe I should be going into Diadem 3 times a week and rolling my face on the keyboard. Maybe I should be trying to further my solo file and Palace of the Dead every evening before bed. I don't know. At this stage, hopefully with the next expansion, the game could be rejuvenated. As unimpressed with the game as I currently am, I still hold out hope for that. Raiding is probably the only thing that's binding me to this game at the moment. And at that, the last raid tier really burned me out. During A3 Savage as a European, before the European servers were released, before released was the absolute bullocks. That's all I have to say about that. They've given me hope with Midas, but I'm not sure if the next tier will be as well thought out. But yeah, I digress. In a world of wee wants and lackluster content, I enjoy listening to you guys. I enjoy the bitterness, I enjoy the rants, I enjoy the sarcasm. I'm not really sure why I wrote this email, apart from just wanting to wish you guys well with everything. I hope whatever plans you guys have for future of LBR materializes, I'll continue on listening. All the best, Dan, or Akari Lyburn of Cerberus.
Thank you.
Yes, as an individual of the homosexual variety, I have the biggest fucking crush ever on a Nero. He says, get gay, bro. PPS, shout out to the FC Cult of Cactuar on Cerberus, specifically Derby, Rig, Psycho, Ka, Lil, Dragon, and Nyx. They're the best, even if they won't bite the bullet and give F11 a try with me, feckin' wankers.
I feel like this guy wrote
thanks,
that.
Arkari.
I feel like he wrote that email for the kind of the same reason you've done this, and kind of the same place that I'm at, where I'm just like, this game's boring. And I just need to say it.
Yeah.
I feel like I just feel better now that I've said it.
Yeah.
Like, I logged in the other night to try to do something, walked out of my house, and I was just like, I don't want to do fates, so I'm going to go home.
FF11 needs to get God and have the Dragoon kill that wyvern and not keep it as a pet. Dragoons don't keep wyverns as pets, they kill them.
No, they kill bad ones in 11 lore, you jerk. They kill fallen wyverns.
Thanks, Scape Death. And also thanks, Arkari. Appreciate it.
So, Nero, are you going to get gay?
I don't think I am.
Okay.
I've never really felt...
I'm told it's a choice.
It is. I mean,
no,
I don't know.
Not.
I mean...
Clear.
Maybe I can just choose to be gay.
Maybe.
Why
not?
I don't know. I've never had the compulsion to stick a dick in my mouth. So.
Fair enough.
It's not a thing.
Not even your own?
No.
What's it like
it's
to not
just
have
not
that
a thing.
compulsion? I'm wondering.
I don't know. Maybe if you got it close enough to my face, that's just what would happen naturally. But I don't think so.
God.
I mean, I don't know though. I've never been in that situation.
Yeah. Are you saying you want me to put my dick near your mouth?
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I don't know what would happen if you did. I'm got to be honest.
It's fair.
I'm scared.
Thanks, Arthur.
As someone who went through that phase in life, don't worry,
weird.
You would know.
Okay, all right. No, that's reaffirming, I suppose.
Yeah, don't worry, you know.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Appreciate that. You learn something new every episode of Limit Break Radio.
It's true.
I learned something today. Look at that. All right, this next email, boy, this is a long one.
All right.
We can't have Jux to take that one.
Yeah, man.
I don't want that.
All right.
Oh my gosh, it's like 4 pages.
Really? All right. This is
Or
going to
like
be a fun one. Here we go.
pages.
Okay.
Greetings, LBR folks. Wanted to chime in regarding your topic for last week, comparing FF11 to 14, the differences, similarities, and etc. This is a long email, as I have lots and more to say on the subject. So if you don't want to read it on air, totally understood. I know
All
you
right,
try
so
to keep
next
the email
email-
segment pithy. I just really wanted to get this off my chest.
All right.
As a fellow FF11 vet, Rip Pandemonium, I have been feeling the same thing about FF14 for a while, and in fact recently walked away from the game. Not sure if it's for good, but it's at least till they make some, in my opinion, much needed changes. With Yoshida's track record since 3.0, that could be a while, or never, so I'm not holding my breath. You raised the question of why it is you're struggling to find inspiration to log into 14. The funny thing is, you already indirectly answered that question way back in the FF11 days. Listening to some of those old episodes, the passion you all had for 11, even with all its flaws, was undeniable. It came through the speakers. You didn't have to say, we love FF11, it was obvious just by listening to you. The enthusiasm was genuine. A favorite
Most of the time that was true. That I mean, I know that I did say earlier in the show that, you know, we did fluff up our opinions sometimes for FF11, but most of the time, through the bulk of that show, I would say that that was true.
A favorite moment of mine was when Campaign Battle was still pretty new and Nero couldn't rip himself away from it even while doing a show. You all were trying to get him to focus on the show, and he's yelling out, as only a Nero can.
What? What did I?
Only you can yell it.
He wants you to yell it.
Oh, I'm supposed to. Oh.
As only a Nero can.
Oh my god.
I don't.
It's a Gobu Hero Hunter.
Oh
screw
yeah.
that.
It's Gubu Hero Hunter.
It was as funny a moment at that time, still is,
terrible.
and completely understandable.
I tried.
Campaign was amazing. It was like Fates, only more fleshed out, better incentivized, and better integrated into the larger story and setting. It was fun content that remained active and relevant for months after it was introduced. With FF11, you couldn't pull yourself away from the game even while doing a podcast for it, even several expansions into its service. Meanwhile, not even one full expansion into 14, you're already struggling to find motivation to even log in, despite doing a podcast for it. And it seems to have been the case for some time now. That's pretty damn telling. But why? Well, again, I refer to the FF11 era LBR. In one of the 11 shows, Kalos summed up why FF11 and its community were so rare and special in a sentence. He said, to paraphrase, the community has said, we don't want a game on a plate, we want to work for it. He was 100% correct.
And I think that was true then, and I think, you know, for those of us, and I'm just going to speak for myself, but that's one of the things that I think about a lot in terms of comparing FF11 and 14, is that, you know, in 11, it really did feel like we didn't want things just handed to us. And
also looking back on it, I don't want to sit for 24 hours to maybe claim an MM to maybe get a drop. I don't want that either. That's not worth.
Nika, there was more to FF11's endgame than just camping H&Ms.
Jesus.
Not really.
Yes,
oh
my
salvage!
Oh my god, are you fucking kidding me?
Admitted salvage and assault were great.
For as much as I have to admit to wearing rose-colored glasses when talking about 14 or when talking about 11, Nika, can you admit that you're absolutely wearing blinders when it comes to 11?
I have a lot of fond memories of 11. I really do.
No, but every time you talk about it, you always harp on the fact that I don't want to camp Ground Kings again.
Bag with which one douches?
That was if that's all you did, that's okay. That's fine, whatever.
I can't log in and do assault whenever I wanted, because if there was a Ground King window open and I wasn't there, I was getting my ass booted.
But that was your link show.
Oh my god!
Every link show.
No wonder you hated 11. Jesus.
Yeah, your link show was awful.
You played that game wrong. God.
I was in like 4 or 5 different link shells where if you were like, people would actually go in different link shells because, you know, you could only have one equipped at a time.
Yeah.
So you can hide, because people would get like, if you were on the game and not there, you would get minus DKP. Do it enough times, you were out.
Well, I don't know. I see in 11 days, I didn't join one of the ultra endgame link shells.
Me
ever.
neither. And
I hated that way of playing the game.
Yeah, and I don't have that. I don't have that memory, nor was that ever the content that motivated me. So I think that is to also kind of piggyback on this email. I think that's also remarkably telling about the depth of content, because here you are as a player focused solely on one end of the game that I never even really touched.
Yep.
But that I was still fully motivated to keep continuing to log in and play almost every day. I mean, that is still that's 100% true. I mean, I'm just reading my feelings.
Yeah, I didn't camp in H&M one time in 10 years of playing the game.
No.
Okay, but then you also were missing out on a lot of the content.
No,
but that's
we have plenty of content.
That's an opinion. But at the same time, though, when you stack up the sentiment 11 versus 14, I mean, even with you saying, hey, you were missing a big part of the game, and you make that same argument about rating, there was still enough of a game there that kept me engaged that I wanted to keep logging in. Whereas with 14, there isn't. Because I know that I can just get, you can just get the rewards next patch anyway.
Yeah,
so
without camping a single H&M, I had no problem getting to 2 years of logged-in playtime. Like, there was plenty to do.
Yeah. I don't know what you're... I'm not sure what you're arguing at this point, Nika, because, I mean, the fact of the matter is that it still kept me engaged.
No, I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying that what a lot of people are saying they wanted to work for, the gear list and all that shit, required sitting around and camping things. And the thing is, 95% of the time you were camping things for the officers and the link shell and not for you.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. No, I had gear lust after fucking salvage gear. I had gear lust after certain things I couldn't get out of assaults.
Relics.
I had gear lust for relics.
I wanted Ascar Zuchetto.
Dude, it was not...
Unless you had a link shell that was farming currency for you, good luck getting your relic. You probably still didn't get it, even after 11 years playing.
Yeah, okay.
I got it.
You're not.
Well, now it's different.
Look. You're not different. You're not entirely wrong, but at the same time, I'm measuring sentiment here. I mean, it doesn't stack up. And 14, you can't deny that 14 falls absolutely flat on that count. There's just, if you're not rating, what the fuck else is there to do? Joe never says PvP. All right, fine. PvP is a thing. Those things do not motivate me. They're not things that I think about outside of the game. There's no reason for me to think about it or to want to go after it. The gear from it is not that phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I sat around and thought about O's coats for FF11.
Okay. But Oak Coats was the same fucking shit, just on a lower scale. You had to sit around for a couple hours for each pop window, hoping you get it, and then hope it drops. It was the same shit, just on a lower scale.
But by myself, I got Oak Coats in a few weeks.
Yeah, right. Exactly. What are you arguing against? The play style or the? Because I'm arguing
so much they want to work for it, but when they think about working for it, it's sitting around doing nothing for 3 hours spamming Flash.
Well, I'm arguing
that's not working for it.
I'm arguing the efficacy of the motivation behind the rewards. All right, you can dissect and agree or disagree with whether or not the play style was there, but the rewards absolutely were.
No, I agree. I think that they need to take the work that it takes to beat an endgame raid in 14 with the reward of 11. They have it backwards.
But that's the whole question that we've asked is, can you do both?
Yeah,
that's where we've started at, is like, can you do it?
And how do you in a structure like 14, because it is structurally very different? How can you even attempt to sort of recapture that same level of motivation or engagement? Because it was there. I'm telling you, it was there in 11. And I'm not.
I think that's why I enjoy endgame rating in 14 so much, is because it's real work. When I compare 11, like, even though you get great rewards, I didn't find any enjoyment in sitting around spamming Flash for 3 hours. Whereas actually figuring out strategy, teaming up with your people, trying, making a little bit of progress, you get like 5 seconds farther in the raid today. Progress, yay, and everybody feels good about it. Like, that's what I enjoy with 14, that 11 was severely lacking.
I feel like you just described like Nizul Isle, Salvage, Einherjar.
Yeah.
Like
Einherjar had that. I will admit, Einherjar had that. But again, that didn't come till way later down the road. But yes, Einherjar was definitely.
But I had those same moments. I had that moment when I was doing my airship battle the first time. Like, oh my god! Like that was 2 solid days of planning and trying to get that percentage bar 1% down further.
Even with stuff that was, I think, it was sort of assumed that you were going to get it at some point. The Rajas ring. God, I fucking wanted every minute that I didn't have a Rajas ring, I was irritated because I would just check someone and they would have it. And you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing in this game that has ever made me feel like oh my God, I'm gonna get the jitters if I don't have it and I see somebody else with it again. That is a problem, and that's we've been identifying this problem for a while now, and I feel like, okay, we've established a solid pattern in content here with 2 expansions. We need to switch it up, and I don't think it's unfair to say, all right, well, what did 11 do well? And again, Nika, you can harp on Ground Kings all you want, but there were a ton of other aspects to 11, and I know the multifaceted aspect of the game was part of what I remember so fondly about it.
No, I agree. There was a lot that came with Treasures of Ottergon is something that I remember very, very fondly. That expansion was very good. However, when I think back on my memories, most, like, if you were in any hardcore endgame link shell, like, it got to a point where even though Ground Kings were a thing of the past and nobody in our link shell needed them anymore, we would claim them just so other link shells couldn't. Like, the amount of competitiveness between link shells and 11 was so strong. Like, I ended up with a black belt for my monk at level 10. My monk was level 10, and I had a black belt simply because we just didn't want other people to have it. It was ridiculous, and it was such a waste of time.
I got a black belt like 4 weeks ago. It was great.
Yeah.
All right. Let's continue with this email.
Email.
Yeah, right. We're on this email. That is how the community felt by and large, and it's the kind of experience FF11 delivered. Consistently, year after year, expansion after expansion. Many tasks could be frustrating, but they were also very rewarding to complete. It's what brought players together to tackle otherwise insurmountable challenges. It's what made even the smaller victories feel so satisfying, because it wasn't handed to you on a plate. You had to earn it, and it was rarely trivial. This was true across the game, whether you rated or not. Even traveling the world couldn't be taken for granted. For example, I bet every one of you very clearly remembers your first trip to Juneau, who you were with, and what happened along the way. And that's absolutely true. Yes, I do.
Oh, I still remember mine, too.
I actually don't remember mine. That's
Hold
your
on,
first
no.
trip to Juneau, you monster.
Nika,
No, I don't. I
I'm
really
going to call
don't.
shenanigans because I don't think you would have had time to walk to Juneau if you were camping H&Ms.
He makes a good point, Nika. I mean, that was a serious time investment.
Oh my gosh. Actually, my most fond memories of 11 come from when I was like level 1 to 50. So I don't know what that says about the rest of the game, but 1 to 50, I had a great time, and then after that, it was all done.
I did too. Dude, I do too. I like the early levels of that game. I don't know. There was something incredibly, and again, that may be the rose-colored glasses or the nostalgia, but there was something that was incredibly satisfying about the way that game did progression.
You probably remember the feeling of finally entering the city for the first time, the mix of relief, achievement, and awe.
That I do remember.
Uh-huh. You remembered it because it mattered, and it was a challenge to get there the first time. Vana'diel challenged you to safely navigate its wilds. You met that challenge, and it mattered. It wasn't just about getting to Juneau itself, but also what it meant. Finally meeting players from other nations, obtaining your Chocobo license, access to new hunting areas, etc. Juneau became our new home, at least until Ottergon. Things that are taken for granted in 14 were major milestones in 11. It's what made them precious and memorable. It's what made FF11 so much more lasting, engaging, and satisfying an experience. Most of those achievements became stories shared with other players and likely still fondly remembered to this day. By contrast, 14 delivers almost none of those things. It is a game on a plate. Outside of endgame rating, which only appeals to a small percentage of players, nothing is rare or precious. Achievements are transient, milestones are meh, and goals are given. Too much of the game is built around designed obsolescence. Nothing is built to last.
Yeah.
Even with all its warts and flaws, SE captured lightning in a bottle with 11. It was/is an incredibly rich MMORPG experience, which, even if in its current state, still holds up in ways 14 has yet to even attempt, much less achieve. Though far from perfect, my 8 years in 11 was an amazing experience. I'm grateful I got to have it when I did and with whom I did. 14, on the other hand, I doubt I'll remember much at all about it years down the line. It'll join the blurry mass of other unremarkable MMOs I've played over the past 15 years, and that's sad. I don't think it had to be that way. Now, some in your audience would say 11 wasn't that good, you're just wearing rose-colored glasses, yada yada yada. My preemptive retort to that, bullshit. When a Nero couldn't pull himself away from FF11 during a podcast, that wasn't nostalgia goggles. That
was a bit.
Yeah, I know, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and interrupt that.
Pull the curtain.
Sorry, I hate to. That was a bit.
We're about to ruin it for this listener.
I know. I know.
I'm sorry.
It was, but that was.
There is no way in hell a Nero would ever let someone play a game during the show. Except for maybe Pokemon Go.
I mean, it made sense for the time, though, because the reason it was a bit, though, is because we were also addicted to it.
It is true.
So,
It wasn't born out of nothing.
That is actually a very good point, because at the time, dude, campaign was one of those things that was super compelling.
Yeah, it was great.
And if your laptop could handle it, doing that and Skype at the same time, maybe you would have.
I probably would have, but I think it also would have lit on fire if I tried to do that. Yeah. So, but yeah, it was definitely bad.
The staff talking for hours about the fun things they were doing, the goals they look forward to, etc. That wasn't rose-colored glasses. It was genuine enthusiasm for the game. When you're doing something you genuinely enjoy and it comes through in most anything you say about that activity, that's not nostalgia goggles. So knock it off with that rose-colored glasses nonsense. It's a misnomer. And actually, another point that this just made me think of is back in the day, you all, at the beginning of every episode, would do your personal updates on what you were doing in the game.
Yeah.
And those were actually compelling because you were all doing something different, unlike 14, where you'd all be doing the same things, unless maybe you're rating.
That's kind of actually a good point. You know, we stripped that segment out from the 14 version, but
pretty
never
early on.
We did it in the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why we stripped it, though. We did it for like 2 episodes.
No, I remember saying, "Oh yeah, I hit this level and I did this thing." I remember talking about it.
Okay,
we did it briefly in the 14 show, but
and
we stripped
especially
it out.
when I was doing the original coils, I remember updating which coil I had just beaten that week.
All right, maybe we did. It's tough to remember anymore, but I mean, it is something that hit the cutting room floor fairly early, and that I never really even put together why that would have happened. But that's a really, I mean, that you just hit the nail on the head. Like, yeah, we would all just be saying the same shit.
Yeah, we'd all literally say, "Oh, I worked on Fates." Anyway, again, sorry this is so long. I was going to call in, but when I feel as strongly about something as I do this, my brain races and it's difficult getting the words out. Most of the time, what I do say doesn't come out as well as it should. So, yeah. Again, even if you don't share it on the air, thank you for taking the time to read it for yourselves. Thanks for the great show. Stay awesome and all the best. Formerly Shan of Coeurl. Mitovo on Twitch.
Thank you very much for that email.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it seemed like they expressed themselves quite
They're actually quite eloquent.
Yeah. I actually had Mitovo on the podcast or on my stream yesterday.
Your stream?
Yeah, we were chilling for a little bit. It was a good.
That's
time.
awesome. Hanging out on 11. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's cool.
The end.
It's weird to hear you say that you were hanging out on 11.
Yeah. Well, it's I beat. Spoiler alert, but I beat myself up. I owned myself.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I'm a god right now. I'm actually 2 gods.
Okay.
Nika hasn't gotten here yet.
What?
I don't think she's gotten this far yet.
Okay, then yeah, you need to.
Never mind.
Never mind.
She wasn't paying attention anyway.
Don't worry about it, Nika. You didn't hear anything.
Am I gonna beat Nika?
But dude, that's super awesome.
Oh my god, that would be so funny.
Isn't that part great though?
Yeah,
that whole story arc is awesome.
Are you talking about in Rhapsodies?
Yes.
I didn't think that they would actually
show. Have you done Adolin and stuff though, Juxta?
He's gotten far enough in Adolin that he can continue with Rhapsodies. He's not doing the full Adolin story. We took a break to do Adolin.
You wanted to do all of that story, yeah.
I really want to do all of Adolin.
No, you don't. You want to do the last chapter of Adolin.
You want to do the last
That's it. Okay. The rest of Adolin's story sucks.
It is so long and boring and drawn out.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually kind of interested in the story right now.
Are you?
It's not horrible.
And Adolin.
Really?
The actual story is not horrible. It's just very long and drawn out.
Yeah, it's going to really drag.
Is it still, like, I feel like it's kind of starting to pick up now.
What's going on right now in the story?
Now, the people who don't want to colonize just tried to kill the king.
Okay, it's going to be almost the exact same kind of crap all the way to the last chapter. Like, that whole should we colonize or not is the motif all the way through the story.
Oh, so it's not going to pick up anytime soon?
No.
Last chapter.
Last chapter, maybe last 2 chapters.
Never mind.
A lot of missions that are wait until the next game day, and you complete it right as the game day changes.
Right. Oh, great.
Yeah. I'll defend a lot of stuff in 11, but Adolin's story is not one of them.
It used to be wait until JP Midnight
Now it's next in-game day.
All right.
That is way worse.
Let's go back to our phone lines. By the way, if you'd like to call the show, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715. If you're calling on a phone, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We're going to talk to Sydney Rosenberg of Excalibur. What's up, Sydney?
Hey, how's it going? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, sure can.
Thanks for giving us a call here on Limit Break Radio. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I really appreciate the time, and I'll try to keep this as brief as possible because that email that you guys just read was actually encapsulated a lot of the things I wanted to say.
Gotcha.
It kind of summed up a lot of our experiences too.
It did. And like you said, he said things very eloquently, and I think he touched base on a lot of good points. But I just want to drive home 2 quick points with you guys.
Sure.
And this is coming from someone where I played Final Fantasy XI. Final Fantasy XI was really my first MMO. I played it for 10 years, around roughly 10 years, and I ran one of the largest link shells across all servers.
Wow.
At some points, our link shell was so big that we had to actually we reached the link shell cap.
Wow.
Like we had that many people on a daily basis.
Were you in Mythril
and
Pride?
We were definitely right, and we were definitely an end-game link shell where we had so many people, and me and the other co-leader of that link shell had to keep everyone busy on a daily basis. So we had a schedule, and we also had part of our link shell was in EU and part of it was NA, and we had a small contingency of just Japanese players.
Wow.
So there was a lot to do. It was a lot to do, and I basically had to know life while playing Final Fantasy XI, which I'm sure some of you can relate to.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm now in my 30s. I play Final Fantasy 14. I have a full-time job, and 14 in the beginning was like a honeymoon. I loved it. And when I say 14, I never played 1.0. I came in after the whole game was kind of revamped and relaunched, and
Gotcha.
I loved so many things that 14 brought to the table in comparison to 11. And the things I loved, I think the most were like the ease of the comfort of life stuff. So in 11, when you had to travel somewhere, you had to travel somewhere.
Yeah.
Whereas in 14, it's like an instant, right?
Right.
And it's something you don't even think about.
You sort of take it for granted. Yeah, sure.
Exactly. But the 2 things I want to drive home real quickly is what has killed my experience for 14, aside from the obvious complaints of, there's not enough content and all this other stuff that always gets brought up, is like the email was talking about, and I know you've talked, and I've loved some of your rants about this, and I'm gonna beat the drum again on this, is the tangibles and experiences that I had in 11, like I will remember for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
When I got my relic in 11, it wasn't just me getting my relic. It was something that hundreds of people had to help contribute to.
Yeah.
And it not only meant something to me, it meant something to everyone. So for instance, when I actually turned in my Amano Munakudo in 11, there was over 150 people there watching me turn it in, and we all celebrated together. And I still have video capture of it that I go back to and reminisce the old days and stuff.
It's funny, that would have been, if that happened now, like if something was that big of a deal now, where like I'm sure that you didn't know all 150 people, like it probably spread like, oh dude, this guy's turning in his last piece for his relic, we got to go check it out, and then he's going to equip it and we can check him and look at it.
How many people checked you immediately?
Examines you.
There's never been a point like that in 14. Like even the first person to get an animal weapon and stand out in Idleshire, it was like you ran past them and you were like, oh cool, I'll have that in a little bit. But in 11,
that's what I was going to drive at. And now it's like you could be completely 240'd out. You could have your relic, you could have full lore gear, you could have full raid gear.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think twice about someone with that type of gear. I would be like, oh cool, he got his stuff. That's like, it has no meaning to me.
Oh.
And you actually,
I pay attention to that. I don't know. Are you a raider? Do you raid?
Yes.
Because I feel like I check people on purpose and be like, oh, because I haven't beat, A8 yet, okay, or A7 yet. Oh, this person has something from A7. Damn it, they've beat it. I need to beat it now too. Like every time I go in a dungeon, I check people to see if they're farther along in Alex than me. I do it all
Right,
the
but
time.
I guess the thing that hurts me for that, and you brought this up already, was just like, oh look, he has the same gear I can get from Midas, except he can diet.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
she can diet. Like,
But see, I don't feel that way because I'm trying to get that gear myself. Especially if I go into a dungeon as not a tank, I'll check the tank and I'll see if they have stuff that I haven't gotten yet.
Okay,
Like,
I mean, I can give
actually
that
care.
to you. There may be an element of that, but it's nowhere near on the scale of what 11 was. Like, if you saw someone in full salvage gear, that meant something.
Right.
If you saw someone have a Manamu Kuno, and then just for kicks, I would stand in town and be like, "Oh, I'll show you my second relic."
Yeah.
I'll show you. Like when I got my, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. When I got my Osode in the game in 11 for the first time, that meant the world to me. When I got Byaku's Hirate or things of that nature, that meant the world to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really hurting from. I would say
agree,
tangible
but you have to think about why it means the world to you. It meant the world to you because you were in a link shell where all the officers got things first, and then slowly you made your way down the list till it finally came to you. So how many times did you have to kill that monster before you got it?
That's not necessarily. I don't think that that's necessarily true because I mean, what part of what we're talking about is walking past somebody or checking somebody and going, "Oh shit," like that. Having that reaction is just and Nika, I think you just have to admit and embrace, like, you might actually be the outlier on this one.
I'm telling you, a lot of people in the chat are saying that if you hardcore endgame rated, you have the same mentality that I do for the most part.
Okay, but that's again, we have identified that that's only a fractional portion of the community.
Much more people did than in 14, though.
No,
for sure.
But again, this was something that this was a thread that wove itself into the entirety through every level of FF11, and it kept the motivation on the front burner through the entire thing. You didn't have to be engaged in one portion of the game to be motivated to go, "Oh shit, I really want that." It is it's way too compartmentalized in 14 to be a rational achievement or even like a rational motivator for all but 1% of the community. You're a 1%er, Nika. I hate to break it to you.
Okay, but that's not even. But what I'm saying is there is that aspect of the game, and
for a very limited portion of the game, and
why does it have to be so limited? That's what I guess what I'm trying to.
Why is it? I think that's a valid question. Yeah. Why is it so limited?
1%. Why are there not more people? Because rating, like everyone who says we liked 11 because we had to work for it. Well, endgame rating is definitely a challenge. So for those people who want a challenge in 14, and it does give the best gear, and you have 6 whole months to beat that content, and it's still going to be the best gear before the next set of rating comes out. Why is it then that these people aren't doing it?
Story mode. We knew this. We identified this. We identified this before they had even implemented it.
I'm not talking about the story mode people. I'm talking about the people who say, I want a challenge to get the best.
No. You have to separate the two arguments, okay? Because they're two different arguments. Wanting the challenge to be there and wanting to rise to the challenge, first, those are two different things, okay? And secondly, like, again, we're talking that this was a motivation that wove itself through every single level of FF11 and didn't compartmentalize itself to only one small section of the community. So why doesn't rating overall appeal to more people? The answer to that is story mode. And we knew that that's what it was going to happen. We knew that that's what the effect of adding story mode was going to be. We knew that. We had identified that from the first time that they had ever suggested it.
Right, but in 11, people say the motivation was the challenge. There wasn't story tied to most of FF11's endgame raids. People did it for the longevity and the gear lust and the want of the
What are you talking about? One of the biggest motivating factors for FF11 was that it was story gated, and it took some serious effort to be able to get to those pieces of story.
But I'm talking about the people who would grind Sky Kings over and over and over for for the gear.
You're talking, dude, when you're talking about those people, you're still talking about the 1% of which you are a part of.
No, lots of people did Sky.
No,
No,
but
I'm
at a
talking about people
point,
who
at one
farmed and
point,
did Sky Kings over and over and over again. That's not the 1%. That was a lot of people, and they did it just because of the gear and for what they considered working for the gear.
Right, but
And
that gear was going to
those
last.
are the people who say that 14 has nothing to work for, has no challenge. But there is so many things to do in this game to challenge yourself.
No, there is.
I would get that too. I get that. I get your argument side of that part. But I would say, as someone who actually raids as well as you do, is that the current rating is pretty fucking boring right now. No offense,
Midas
but it
is
is like
actually
Coil was pretty fun. Coil, I will admit, was pretty fun. The story was way more compelling. The current rating there is right now, I've asked many of people this, and I'm like, what do you think about the current raid end game right now? And they're like, yeah, it's pretty boring. It's pretty boring and uninspiring. And so I would say it's not only that you're arguing about that 1% thing, but I think that just the current rating right now is just not that interesting.
Okay, all right.
I talked to you say that Gordius was stupid because there was a lot of horrible mechanics, but that Midas is much better, and I agree with that.
Well, Midas is definitely an improvement over Gordius.
Well,
but
sure. I mean, and
goes without saying.
Yeah.
Is any of Alexander better than Coil?
Storyline wise, no.
No, not story.
No,
just
not even
just the fights.
I'm not even. I'm going to say even the. I mean,
I don't know. I'm really enjoying A7S. I don't know.
I mean, I went through Coil, and it felt like you were actually going through an area.
Right.
Area to area to area.
Right.
Whereas Midas, I'm just fighting 4 primals every patch.
Here's another point, Nika. Hey, how was that A4S victory for you?
But again, everybody agrees that Gordius
But
is
how
bad.
was?
I never
But
beat
how
it.
was it? Was it awesome?
I never beat A4.
Oh, okay, but you didn't even have to rise to that challenge to even go to the next challenge,
And actually,
which was one
I'm
of
really
the.
upset that I haven't gone back to beat it yet because it's something I really want to do.
Okay, but if that
gated.
Yeah, if that gate had existed, at which
I actually was one of the people hoping it was gated.
And that's fair, but we can't. I mean, we can't argue that gate would have absolutely been there in FF11. There probably would have been 3 other gates to even get there in the first place.
And the thing is that everybody wants that. However, in this game, they're like, oh, they better not gate A5 behind A4. Where's the disconnect here? In 11, we would have wanted it, expected it, and then risen to the challenge. Why aren't people doing that in 14?
Well, because and there's
if that was gated, people would have been pissed off.
Yeah,
they would have been, but at the same
you're
time,
not wrong.
The incentive was always there for 11. If I had to go, if I was going to work my ass off in Sky and get some God gear, I was going to be able to wear that God gear for next to ever.
Look, 11 was a game that sort of justified itself. Like it was consistent in its difficulty, and if they started inserting stuff like that into FF14, it wouldn't feel like unnatural, right? Like you would hit it and it would feel like, oh, this is weird, right? Like it would feel like an unnatural difficulty to add it into 14, which is why I'm not saying like we should have FF11 2.0 with 14. That's never what I've been advocating for, right? But at the same time, though, I think that there are, I think that 14, the devs from 14 can do a little bit of both. I feel like they can satisfy maybe a little bit of both, or try a little bit harder to have some of this middle content in between raiding and just grinding tomes over and over again. Because that's, I mean, God, that's the really frustrating thing. By the way, thank you, Sydney Rosenberg, for giving us a call here. We appreciate it. We've got another couple of callers on the line that we definitely want to get to. If you want to add your voice to the mix, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. And again, it's not saying that everything that FF11 did was great.
No, we could go on a laundry list of things that they did badly.
Absolutely. It's not like that game didn't have flaws. It absolutely had flaws. Nobody's trying to gloss over those. And I think that a lot of times when you get to a discussion like this, you get, at least I've heard a lot of the same straw man argument where people will drag out, well, look at WildStar. WildStar was a game where they tried to make it for, like as difficult as possible and as grindy as possible, and that failed. And even I think, like, first of all, I think that's a pretty bad argument, because there was no IP attached to WildStar, and so there was nothing driving the underpinnings of its success other than, if you like the MMO genre. World of Warcraft has Warcraft. Final Fantasy has Final Fantasy. Like a lot of very successful MMOs we've pointed out have IPs that are connected to them, and there are extensions of worlds that already exist, or franchises that already exist. But I think a better comparison, a better sort of, if you want to drag out a straw man, a better straw man is to say, well, look at FF14 1.0. Because 1.0 tried to do a lot of the stuff that you're talking about, and people hated it. And you would be right. But we have 2 years of an established, successful pattern, an established, successful format of content. And now that we have that pattern established, it's not unreasonable to look at the developers and say, what else you got? Because, I mean, as a lot of people have said, getting another expansion of here's 2 dungeons and a 16-man, and you're...
Well, let's not oversell ourselves. 1 dungeon.
It's so...
One dungeon.
Right, exactly. But, like, I feel like you can't hold up WildStar as this example of, like, well, that's why this style, this format of content never works, right? Because I don't think that that's entirely true. I think there were other factors working against WildStar's success other than the difficulty that it tried to build in. And I think that you also have a massively different context given the community and what they're willing to put up with and what they seek out of the game 2 years into the development, or at least the relaunch of this game. After 2 years, I think that you need to be able to re-examine the way that your content is delivered. And I think that that is totally and 100% valid and fair. All right, let's go back to our phone lines. We're going to talk to Sam Hain from Genova. What's up, Sam?
How you guys doing?
Good, how are you? Just your name.
Good. Just a quick couple of points. One of them being between your argument that you were having with Nika about the raid content. I think a valid point to make would be that a lot of these people who are Americans, not Japanese, but Americans, they get into these raids and their link shells are terrible. Mm-hmm. And so you have all these people that want to raid, but they may be able to only make like a party of like 6 instead of like a party of 8. And I know, being an 11 player, the one thing that changed for me in 14 was once I realized how the game was different from 11, I tried to make it like 11 in a couple of senses. So I formed a link shell that has 26 members instead of just settling for an 8, because a good example of this is like remember the Behemoth Dominion in 11?
Yeah.
When it first came out, the Japanese, they went in there and just slaughtered it within like a month or two, and it took like 24 to how many parties of 8 to like destroy it. And us as Americans, I couldn't remember 6 months into that. I'm like, is anyone doing that?
Right.
So with that, I mean, it's important to remember that this is a Japanese game. It's not an American game.
That's true.
But as far as and Nero is your name?
Nero is his name, yes.
Yeah.
Sanctuary of Zita. I was a samurai in 11, and there is a nostalgia with the game as far as 11 goes, because I was born in Sanctuary of Zita as a samurai, and I died in Sanctuary of Zita as a samurai.
Wow.
Keeper of Paladin's a bitch, huh?
There you go.
Yeah, and in 14, my current job is a paladin, and if you can guess like what job I really want them to come out with, my whole gear set is glamour to a samurai.
Wait, you were a samurai in 11, and you switched to paladin in 14, and you really want samurai back? And are you a Nika sock puppet?
We are twins.
Right,
twinsies.
But here's the thing:
I'm not hearing a denial.
I feel like, as far being an avid gamer of both these games, I feel like they're testing 14 right now. I feel like, you guys make some valid points, but there is hope for 14 because
absolutely.
If you look at what happened with 11, okay, post Abyssea, there weren't that many patches. After Abyssea came out, like we were getting hit every 3 months with these patches, and slowly things started to happen to make it go back to that. So I mean, I listened to a few of you guys' radio shows last week. I love your show, especially when I'm hunting
thanks.
boring hunts and whatnot. It helps the time go quicker. But I agree with you about the whole datum thing. If they made datum like Abyssea, then where it's not this thing that you have to queue for, that it's a zone that you can enter and get different items. I think that's a great idea. Also, a few ideas real quick, and then for patch 4.0, there's going to be a lot of people out there. They're going to lose people. Okay, never mind the rating and stuff like that. That all can be fixed. But if they don't release some good content in 4.0, and I'm talking about jobs like samurai or geomancer, even a rune fencer, for as far as a tank, red mage, beastmaster, something to go with it. And I was even thinking a few of my guys in my link shell talk about this a lot, but mythic weapon quest lines, and I know the whole double attack thing, you can't really use it in 14, but you could implement new abilities as far as these weapons go. So.
Yeah, no, we've talked a lot about that before, having specific ability augments or having a greater range of stats that appear on the gear.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Square Enix is not really interested in pursuing that. And I do think that there might be balance issues associated with that. So it's understandable, but I sort of feel like I'd rather see development in that area, and I'm going to say a really unpopular thing right now, but I'd rather see development in that area than see development on new jobs. Because new jobs are really just reskins of what we already have. I mean, it's all
we need. You never know; they could totally change it.
But
no, they're not going to. They're not going to because we still have the Trinity, and as long as we're adhering to that, they really can't
expansion is the
break from
perfect
that.
time to change
Quadrinity.
I mean, yeah, they can shake it up, but we had said oh wow, they're really shaking it up with these new jobs, and when we got our hands on them, we really didn't.
I will be floored if we go to FanFest this year and they announce something like a new role to fill. I would lose my mind.
Yeah.
But if I want to address something that caller said, he said there's probably a lot of people who are in a link shell and they want to do raiding, but maybe there's not enough good players in the link shell to do it. That's also kind of a result of the way 14 is designed. You didn't have so many of those problems in 11 because if you weren't a good player, you generally didn't make it to 75. Mott was a hard gate for a lot of people for a long time until you learned your job well enough to get past him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it really, you're right. And I think a lot of people would look at that and be like, well, that's not fair. That's not what I would want in 14. And I don't know that that's exactly what we're advocating for either. Again, I think that 14 should look at the result of a lot of these different factors from 11 and say, okay, well, how can we do something similar to that? They don't have to do the same thing. They don't have to do Ground Kings exactly, Nika. They don't have to do
I know that.
they don't have to. There's 100 different ways that they could sort of repackage and represent these pieces of content that don't feel as throwawayable. They don't feel as disposable as the events that we have right now. And I think asking why do these events feel disposable, that strikes more at the heart of the matter than to just simply say, well, nobody wants to play a game that's slow. I agree. Nobody does want to play a game that's slow. That's why FF11 isn't even still that slow. But what are the lessons that you learn from implementing hard checks and hard gates like that? And how can you apply that to better motivate your community down the line? I think that those are perfectly valid to ask. I don't think that that's unfair. And I don't think, the people who think that I'm being really hard on FF14 or its development, I don't think that you're really understand. I think you hear the criticism and you're getting defensive on the criticism and not really understanding that, no matter what, there's some truth here. Like there's a significant portion of the community that is not engaged. And what do we have to do? And this is what the devs should be asking themselves. What do we have to do to re-engage those people? And another point that Sam had brought up that I really liked was that, look, you can't be so focused on continually bringing new people in. At some point, this has to, the perspective or the focus needs to go to supporting the people who you've already got, who are already sitting at level cap. Heaven's Word, I don't feel like was entirely that. Like, I feel like we got... It was the same thing as A Realm Reborn, and that was fine for A Realm
Reborn. A good point, though, is that Steps of Faith was a legitimate gate. And
that they buckled
people
on.
People bitched about it. What if they had
Let them bitch! Who cares? Let them bitch. They get better for it at the end. Tough love.
No, I agree. I thought it was perfect the way that it was. I like that it took me 3 or 4 tries to
I agree.
But, there's something about this community. I don't know if it's because of how easy and casual friendly the game was at launch, or what it is about this community that says they want to work for something, but that when they actually have to work for something, they don't.
That's a modern gaming community. That is contemporary. That is a sign of the times. It's not. I don't think that's indicative to our community. I don't think that that's indicative to MMOs. I don't think it's even indicative to RPG players or JRPG players. That's modern gaming. Ugh. That's modern gamers.
So what can FF14 actually do?
Stop listening to that shit.
But then, as a business trying to make money, they're going to lose a lot of players.
I don't think they will. I think
the modern gaming community wants that.
They're already losing players. So
but how many more players are they going to lose if we bring back H&Ms?
God
damn it.
I'm just talking about presenting things that are a challenge. Like, I do think that Steps of Faith, as it originally was fine. I don't even like nerfing freaking, what was that done now? I'm totally blanking. With Siren in it. Pharaoh, Sirius.
Oh, Pharaoh, Sirius, yeah.
Like, why did they nerf that? That was perfect the way that it was.
It was nerfed because it was unreasonably hard compared to all the other easy dungeons.
But they're already hemorrhaging players. Like, the game is already hemorrhaging players. People aren't logging on in the same numbers that they are. I mean, that's if you log on at any point, that's clear. Queue times are atrocious at the moment. I mean, I feel like every successive patch, there's less and less people that come back. That's problematic. Hugely problematic.
Do you think with these people not logging in, is SE's not realizing it because it's warm and summer out, maybe? And they're correlating, okay, the people aren't logging in because it's nice weather out and people are going out.
I don't know. I don't know if you can you really ascribe environmental factors to how much people play MMOs? I mean, at the same time, it is also summer, and you've got college kids and high school kids, and
people out of school.
People are out of school. They have more free time on their hands.
It's hot outside. I don't want to be out there sweating my balls off.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can kind of try to spin that either way, but no, I think that it does not bode well to be losing this many players patch over patch. And again, there's no hard number that I can point to go, it's objectively losing numbers. That's a sentiment on my part. It feels like it's losing numbers. And I could be wrong. Clearly, I'm not logging in as much as I was, so I could definitely be wrong. I don't know. Maybe Deep Dungeon did inject more life into this community than I thought. Feel free to call up and correct me. I'd love to hear from you. Limit Break Radio on Skype. 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Mugen Raccoon. What's up, Mugen?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. A lot of the stuff that I wanted to comment on has already been said with really good opinions, but I did have a few questions.
Sure.
Let's see if I can throw them out without choking on myself. The one I was going to ask, well, what could they actually do? What content can they bring, they being Square Enix, could they bring to sort of incite the community again? Because Deep Dungeon tried to do that, and for a while it seemed to have picked up, but at least as far as the last 2 weeks, it's less and less.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they can do. And I want to backtrack a little about the age comment. This is way early in the show.
Yeah.
But I'm a 34-year-old gamer. I play a lot of games. I don't think age is the issue. I think I have the same issue that a lot of people have with this game with other games. I mean, yeah, they're single-player games, but you beat it maybe once or twice, and then that's it. That's done. You move on to the next thing.
Right.
And Final Fantasy XIV is kind of unique to me. It's my second MMO for a time. My first one being Terra Rising. I know, right? That was actually my first.
Gotcha.
And so coming from Terra going to Final Fantasy 14, it wasn't a hook right away.
Right.
I mean, I see the low. I see people being disinterested. I see the population dips just from my own friends list of people that I meet.
Mm-hmm.
But also me as a player, this may be how do you say jaded, but I recognize the low-end content, but I'm still having a lot of fun with it. That could just be because I'm relatively new. But I also recognize that there are things that they could do to keep those long-time players, especially players who want harder content or coming from a lot more MMOs, Final Fantasy XI being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people say, well, we want harder content. I don't know. I have a weird viewpoint. And, I run the dungeons pretty much just every day. And, we don't really write, but I see a lot of people struggling with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if harder content is actually the way to go. But at the same time, it's hard to argue that point because the people who want it, it feels like they outweigh the people who can't do it.
Right. And that's a good point. And I also think, there's also a learning curve too. If you're running into more people who are struggling in dungeons, it's because the people who know how to run those dungeons blindfolded are not populating the queues for that kind of stuff because they've gotten everything that they need out of it. They don't need tomes anymore. It doesn't drop any relevant gear. So what point is there to even queue for it in the first place? And so you have, you have a situation like I ran into last night where I actually had an hour. I had an hour before I had to leave for work, and I logged into FF14, and I attempted to do an expert roulette, and I could not get it done in the fucking hour. Okay? Now, first of all, it was a bad party. Second of all, I had to, normally I don't give up on those types of parties. I had to leave for work, and it was so frustrating.
Wasn't that the party was bad?
Yeah, the party.
Which dungeon was it?
I've never even wiped.
Snowcloak?
Snowcloak. It wasn't an expert. It was what was it?
60?
Yeah, it was a 60
or 50.
Whatever it is. Yeah, it was a Snowcloak, man, and it was a struggle the whole time. And it's like, dude, I had an hour when I sat down and logged on. It took me 10 minutes for the queue to go. 50 minutes should have been plenty of time to get through Snowcloak. The first boss, 2 wipes. Second boss, 4 wipes. Couldn't aim the thing to get the snowballs. It was fucking infuriating. And I'm not the type of person, contrary to what the show may say, but I'm not the type of person where I'll sit there and berate you in party and tell you, like, you're terrible. I'll try to help where I can, but at some point I've got to give up. And when you're running into this kind of thing more and more, it just tells me that the people who do have the context for this content have no reason to do it anymore. And again, that all goes back to being very problematic when it comes to the long-term life and health of an MMO. FF11 absolutely had to decline. There was a point where, the game started hemorrhaging a lot of players.
When it went down fast.
It was. But before that, I mean, it had 4 or 5 survivable years of... I feel like so many people hung on during that, and even the content was thin then. There was something about FF11 that saying that just FF14 doesn't have it is also a little bit unfair to FF14 because a lot of MMOs have never been able to capture it. Again, asking why is a totally fair question. And it's not, and again, it's, a lot of people really feel like we're knocking 14 for this stuff, and it's really not. It's not designed to be a knock against 14, but just framing the question like why was this more engaging even in terms of sentiment than what we're dealing with now in 14. I think that the sentiment is pretty undeniable at this point. Thank you so much for your call, Mugen. We appreciate it. Let's go back to our emails here real quick and read this email from Zero Aeolus of the Sergeant Sandus server. Says, hey guys, and hi Nika. Zero Aeolus of the Sargentana server here. I'm catching up on the podcast. I finished episode 43, so that's why I'm writing this to you. I'm really glad that you guys are around. You guys make my work more pleasurable. You guys are not assholes or lowest common denominators, but voices of pure honesty that I hear often in my life.
Have we ever been called voices of pure honesty?
I don't think so.
That is not a term I've heard used to describe us.
Don't think so. Clearly everything that I strive to be.
It's what we aspire to. I'm
a pillar of honesty.
You're a pillar, all right.
Yeah. I transferred from Fairy to Sargentana since hashtag Get Good got me boiling to be a better tank overall. I just beat Nidhogg hard mode last Thursday morning, and the FC gave me a good prep talk. They basically said, suck it up, failed, and learn. And so I did, and I won. The triumph was amazing for me since I stopped tanking for a while, but kept it at eye level. When I was sorry, this is kind of, I'm trying to have to decipher this on the fly. When I was deciding to either tank or do the last boss.
DPS, I think.
Okay, yeah. Tanker, yeah. DPS. I went tank full knowing I was getting burned. Bitched at, but I just plowed through it and won. It's because of you guys chatting with the members of the FC. So you guys keep it up, keep up the awesome podcast. And I want to help out besides subscribe to Twitch and Patreon. So let me know. Anyway, thank you for reading my email. I love you guys. P.S. Juxta, that you rock that quiet cosplay.
No, he doesn't.
No.
Yes, he does.
No, that was the whole point. Was no, he doesn't.
No,
I rock that.
Problem
shit.
is, no, he doesn't, and it's okay that he doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, not okay for us. We had to film it.
That's true.
Donate now to see Juxta Quiet at FanFest.
Can we get like a pinup photo shoot, Juxta?
Oh, no.
For extra Patreon donors at a certain level, pinup.
What are we punishing them?
Shit, yeah!
Thanks for $75 a month, asshole.
Yeah, that's not nice. How would you like to wake up and have that in your email inbox just one day? Just be like, oh, God!
You're going to have a class action lawsuit against us.
Stop
Stop shaming me!
Escalia, you want to take this next email?
Yeah.
All right.
So during this long drought of no news for FF14, I figured I'd look back at what is currently confirmed for 3.4, some of which I am excited for, but still pretty worried it is taking them this long to get this content out. I am really hoping 4.0 will be strong, otherwise I might lose all hope for FF14. Patch 3.4. Grand Company platoons. Recruit Grand Company NPCs to train and eventually use in dungeons and other
Was this
content.
actually confirmed for 3.4?
I
When
don't
they
know.
first announced it,
I don't
did
think.
they say it would be 3.4?
Well, I do have to say that this person did provide links to many of the assertions that they make. So if Nika, if you want to go ahead and follow the links in the outline, go for it.
Hold on, no.
I'm
Nika
just gonna
can't
read
do that.
these.
She's too busy camping H&M.
Oh, right. I forgot. I'm sorry, Nika. I didn't.
She
mean to
can't
pull-
alt tab out, man.
I know. I
doesn't
forgot.
like that.
I'm really sorry. That was not. That was a nice one.
All right, well, we'll put up the flyer for this, that this is in an email. I don't know that these are all confirmed. New Grand Company ranks, the Feast Spectator mode in custom matches and 1v1 duels, minor diadem tweaks, Ishgard apartments, the first Eggy Glamour, possibly Carbuncle, continuation of the Scholasticate and Hildebrand quest lines, quality of life changes, Orchestrion shuffle feature, Stone Sky Sea accuracy, camera speed setting, etc. We've got the usual new tomestones, new crafted gear, 2 new dungeons, the final wing of Alexander Savage and normal, a new trial, likely the demon Zervan, and new story beginning to lead into the next expansion, etc. And patch 3.45.
Slow your, calm your tits there.
It does
Scalia.
say, okay, so this live letter where it said this was in April. April 12th is what this link links to. They did say that Grand Company platoons, as well as the next Grand Company rank, will be ready by 3.4, and they have not mentioned it one time since then.
Okay, well, hold on. Stop. Pause. Have they mentioned anything in 3.4 since then?
No, I don't think
I guess
so.
other than
and think about this. Like,
well, Ishgard apartments.
April was 4 months ago.
Yeah.
That's not exactly a long time to
no, and especially not in terms of
patch development.
Yeah, patched exactly. Yeah, I don't.
I guess I'm hoping that this still happens.
If
and that
this-
it wasn't something they just put on the back burner.
Nika, if this was a link to like something that was in 2.0 or you know what I mean, like I could see that.
Yeah.
But this is fairly recent, and they provided links to for all of their assertions, so I'm inclined to kind of believe that is on track because we've not heard.
So.
I mean, we've not heard anything
Grand
to
Company
the
rank.
contrary.
If that doesn't come in 3.4, I might be sad.
Yeah.
Square Enix, I've been hurt before.
All right.
Now, this 3.45 stuff, this I don't know about. Palace of the Dead floor is 51 to 200.
They didn't say when.
That's
those
not
were all being
confirmed, no.
released.
Yeah, there's no way.
I feel like that's an intention. Whether or not that'll actually, I don't feel like that's
Hang on,
been
let
a
me click on
promise.
this link. I will.
I mean, some of these, they can be intention, and again, sourcing a lot of this information from a live letter, boom, that tells me that's
pretty rock solid.
Yes. But this one comes from MMORPG.com, which is a good outlet, and it is an interview with Yoshi P. But we do know that they're a little bit more willing to talk about things that are in development or maybe don't have a solid schedule attached to them in interviews like this than they are on the live letter.
Yeah, the
Live letter seems pretty locked down.
This interview says, as planned, we will add more floors and a ranking system to Palace of the Dead at patch 3.45.
Okay. All right.
That's really all it says.
I'm predicting up to 100, and then 100 and 200 is going to be later. So
Maybe, but I know that the ranking system they were talking about was like how far can you get solo on one job, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Weren't they talking about that when it first came out?
Yeah. Okay, so we've also got looking ahead 3.5.
Yep.
Diadem revamps and new exploratory mission zone. Revamp may include. I think that's probably more accurate. New objectives, more focus. No, not focus.
Focus.
More focus on exploration.
Your focus needs more focus.
Full area raid
Nerf forks
with mechanics.
Buff spoon.
That's another one. I think that's separate from Diadem. Full area raid with mechanics. Cross-server party finder. Additional housing plots on overcrowded servers. Expanded feast spectator mode. Preparations for future use outside of PvP as well. And the usual 2 dungeons. Possibly Keeper of the Lake hard mode. And a new 24-man raid. And a new trial, likely the Goddess. I think we can expect to finish out the Warring Triad. I think that we can expect to see the usual amount of dungeons and what we've been treated to in the past. But again, these just seem like more of the same. It's more of what we've already seen throughout the 3.0 development. And I think the only thing that kind of deviates here is, all right, like, again, we're...
Platoons, maybe.
Well, Platoon, maybe. But... again, I feel like we're sitting around saying, like, oh, let's see what happens with Palace of the Dead and Diadem. And again, like Juxta was saying, dude, I've been burned before. It's hard for me to say, all right, well, like, how long can we keep hanging on to Palace of the Dead and Diadem getting good eventually? Because as it exists, neither of those events really play a necessary part in the game. And I just...
I think Palace of the Dead is in a really, really good spot right now. They just
Are you troll? Like,
no.
Are you honestly bringing? Okay,
no troll right now.
Fine.
No troll.
All right.
Like right now, like my favorite part of Palace of the Dead was floors 40 through 50. Basically, when you're max level, you're actually trying to survive and beat the clock.
Right.
Yep.
So if floors 50 through 100 is just that,
more of that,
then that would be perfect because then you actually have to work towards winning.
Okay.
And then to go along with that, they have to make the items worth it. They have to itemize it better.
That's the one thing.
Yeah, I agree.
You're definitely not wrong.
You still have the issue of rewards.
Yes.
Yeah. If 51 to 100 plays a lot more like 41 to 50, then yeah, you're right. That would be a lot of fun because those floors were good.
Okay. And by the way, that email came from Camilla Breeze, so thank you for sending that over. By the way, I didn't mean to snake that email out from under you.
You're fine.
I was just giving you a chance to catch Pokemans.
Gotta catch that Scyther, yo.
That's right.
There's a Chansey somewhere.
There's a Chansey in the area. I know.
It's gone now.
No.
Yeah, it's gone now for sure. All right, let's go back to our phone lines. We have Ari hanging on the line. I think it's Ari. What's going on, Ari?
Just finished Void Arc, wanting to shoot myself after doing it for the millionth time.
Oh, congratulations.
I don't blame you. That's a glowing review after getting out of an event for a game that you claim to like, but okay.
This is bullshit.
Just kidding. Just giving you a hard time.
Well, yeah, Void Arc.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Go ahead.
Well, I really appreciate being on. I hate to go bring up a past conversation that happened 20 minutes ago, but I believe it was Juxta or somebody stated that in patches and patches, as they come out and they come out, more and more people leave, more people hate the game, and simply unsub, walk away, and play Pokemon Go and do other things with their lives.
Right.
I play on Coral, which is one of the lowest population servers, simply because a ton of local players in my community play this game, and they decided to play on Coral.
Now, when you say local, do you mean like people in your physical area that you like know outside of the game?
Yes.
Okay.
And when I quit, there was absolutely nobody on. You'd go to Ildishire, you'd go to Gold Saucer, there would be nobody. You'd see a tumbleweed roll by. That's how empty it was.
Right.
After I heard some of the changes that are coming in 3.35 and some of the recent patches that happened a while ago, including Palace of the Dead, it's piqued my interest again. And I started telling everybody in my local community, hey, we have to start playing this game again. It's starting to get easier, more fun, more enjoyable, less grindy, so we can all enjoy it again.
Okay.
And it seemed a week or two after I told them that and they started playing again, all of a sudden Coral's population just explodes. And I started asking people like, hey, I haven't seen you on for a while. Why'd you decide to start playing again? After catching up, they tell me, oh, I'm excited for apartments, or I'm excited to get my anima weapon easier.
Okay.
Or, oh, I'm excited to go do Palace of the Dead because it sounds so interesting.
Interesting. Well, I mean, that's I think that's a pretty good anecdotal, refutation of our declaration that nobody wants to log in anymore. Like, obviously.
Wow. Those are some big words.
It's
Yeah.
obviously it's
Trying
not
to cover your butt or something.
it's not the it's not everyone's experience. I get that, and it's going to be different on different servers, and I mean,
we can only say
again,
what we see on Sargatanis.
Exactly. Like I mean,
the LBR link shell is #1 on Sargatanis.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
But I mean, I'm sure that you do see you do see a bit of a resurgence. But how long had it been since you had logged in before this patch?
January at the beginning of this year. I took a break for the semester and summer semester to finish up my degree.
Okay, all right. So I think maybe the context that you're missing there has been sort of because there is always that whenever you get a patch. Whenever you get new content, Deep Dungeon, whatever it is, you're always obviously going to see a resurgence in people coming back and being like, yeah, I want to try this new thing out.
Finish the story, whatever you're doing.
Right. Like, and I think the thing that, you should probably be on the lookout for is in like another 2 weeks. Are you still going to be seeing those same people? Did it keep them there for any longer than just this sort of passing interest?
Right. We're almost a month removed from Palace of the Dead. How's that population doing now?
Yeah, exactly.
It's doing absolutely fine. I started playing a good month ago, and tons of people are still playing. I'm still getting in contact with lots of old friends.
That's good.
And, it hasn't died down. And I'm really happy for that. I understand it's unique possibly to just the Coral server, or it's unique to another low population server.
Or it could be unique to your group of friends, too. I mean, that's another possibility as well. I've seen groups of friends, gravitate to another game for 6 months and then come back like that. Mm-hmm. God, that used to happen all the time.
Well, how often would you do that with FF11? You'd go on a down streak, you'd go play another MMO for a bit or another game for a while, and then come back to 11.
Right? Yeah,
that's where the joke came from. It never really lets go.
It doesn't. And that was the thing, is that you always did come back. You always did come back because I again, the sentiment was like at the end of the day, I felt like I was missing out on something by not being there. And by playing something else. Nika wasn't wrong saying that like FF11 when I was playing it the most, I felt like I couldn't play another game. Whether that's good or bad, I mean, like part of me of course feels like that's terrible.
Right, like you missed out on other games.
Now I would feel really sad, like with The Witcher and Metal Gear. Like if I had to play this game so much that I couldn't play Metal Gear, I would have cried.
No, oh my gosh,
and I understand
so excited for that new Metal Gear that's coming out.
Don't
Seriously, you're gonna ruin the entirety of our next show, you dick.
I'm already triggered.
God damn it.
Nika's easy to trigger with that.
So no, I like while we're sitting here and talking about the problems of 14, again, there's no one remedy to it, but the more discussion that we have about it, I think we only stand to benefit as a community, and the devs only stand to benefit from the feedback.
Right. I don't feel like us bringing this up is going to pull the veil back and people are going to be like, wait a minute, this game is garbage.
Right.
Maybe we should all leave in a mass exodus.
Which is not what we're saying.
No one cares about our opinions that much.
That's true. Nor should you.
What this is like you say, to some extent, we're just trying to be a little honest with how we're feeling about the game at this point. We're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to log on this week to play. I'm like, I don't want to do Fates.
Yeah.
I just don't want to.
It's true.
Well, nobody wants to do Fates, but everybody
that's the
wants
problem.
that
Stop
awesome,
making an event around it.
But everyone wants that awesome mount.
Thank you, Henri, for the call. We appreciate all of our... We got a lot of new callers here. First-time callers here to Limit Break Radio on the show today. Again, we're taking your calls on just gauging sentiment on FF14. Are you engaged? Are you into it? Or do you think that this game could be doing more to keep you and hold you in its grasp? Limit Break Radio on Skype. 810-515-8715. LimitBreakRadio.com/Discord. There's
an Ammonite in the area.
Dun dun dun.
There's a Rhyhorn.
Look at that.
I hate you. You get to live here. This is bullshit.
I know. Notice how you said it, and I didn't even like.
Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah, I caught the last one that I needed today. I don't need another one.
Yeah, he has Omastar, people.
I do. I have an Omastar.
Do you have a Porygon?
No, that's the only one I don't have. Nika, how about you take this next email here?
Sure, sounds good. Hi, LBR crew. Listening to your last episode got me thinking. And I came to an odd conclusion. FF11's horizontal gear progression is the same as collecting Pokemon. And it's exciting for all the same reasons.
Topical.
Okay, wait. All right.
Did Aniro write this email? Is this signed to Nero?
No, it is not. It absolutely is not. But, I mean, okay, all right, I'm in. Let's go.
All right. FF14 does not do any of this, and that's why I don't care about gear.
Okay.
I'll keep it brief, else I would write a 10-page novel. I'll use 11 and Pokemon terms semi-interchangeably and may use one over another, but I think you'll see the point for each game.
This is not how you keep an email brief.
No.
All right. 11's gear variety and versatility is identical to Pokemon variety and versatility. They all have strengths and weaknesses depending on the content you want to play. Because of gear versatility and party composition flexibility, it encourages people to collect multiple gear sets. Actually, I'm going to disagree on just party composition because in 11, you'd only use the same jobs. In 14, you can use any job and still succeed. So I'm going to disagree on that. However, Pokemon does the same. Additionally, it was a point of pride to have a full Pokedex or a Dark Knight with Greatsword, Axe, Scythe, and Enfeebling Magic all leveled with appropriate gear, even if you almost never used it. Well, then it's not fully interchangeable. It's like that rare item in solo RPGs. I might just need this one day. Stats mattered. The 5% dual wield in FF11 Saponomimi was so potent, jobs took it even if they couldn't use it. Pokemon could learn certain move sets or have stats that were just as broken. You would hunt and hunt until you got that item or Pokemon because you instantly saw improvement. Gear and item longevity. If gear and Pokemon weren't viable for more than transient periods, why bother collecting or challenging gear sets that will be replaced in 3 months? You hunt for a strong Pokemon early because you know it will be usable for half the game. You don't care about simple Pokemon as much if you won't ever use it again.
That's a remarkably good point, I have to say.
Yeah, but you can't keep toting about versatility, though. Me and CERN actually just had this argument about Pokemon as I'm replaying Pokemon Yellow. He's like, why collect the Pokemon like Pidgey and stuff if you're never going to use them? All you want is the really strong endgame ones. So there's really not a lot of versatility there.
No, and Pokemon is a very simple system, but at the same time, what motivates you to be to have a strong lineup is different from what motivates the collecting, because Robbie does both of them. Robbie's a huge collector, has his decks almost filled out throughout a big chunk of the generations. So I mean, you know what? And I turned this corner in Go. Remember? Because I when I would talk about Pokemon Go, I said I'm only in it for the Kabutops. Once I've got the Kabutops, I'm done. I don't need to pay it that much more attention. But what ended up happening was by the time I got the Kabutops, I was like, fuck, I'm so close to the end, I might as well just stay engaged. Like, I can't not finish it out now.
Right, I like the collecting aspect, but this emailer is saying that it's so versatile, just like 11 was, where I disagree. Like, there are gyms. They don't know, electric gym, water gym, but if you actually wanted to go challenge the Elite Four as a strong water player, you never win. You have to have you can't do whatever you want.
Okay, hold on. I have a quote that's really personal to me as a person.
Okay.
Strong Pokemon, weak Pokemon. That is only the selfish perception of people. Truly skilled trainers should try to win with their favorites. Karen, Generation 2, Ghost-type Pokemon.
Yeah, see, I actually remember that too, and I really wish you could just win with your favorites.
You can,
and that's
truly
the point.
Skilled trainers, Nika, not people who are camping H&Ms all day.
Story-wise, shut up. Story-wise, truly skilled players can, maybe in the anime.
No, that's not true. I don't think that's. I mean, granted, I haven't played a Pokemon since a Pokemon game since first generation. I'm going back and doing it now, but I'm absolutely.
Could I win with those?
You know what? Do you want me to make a challenge? I will make the Twitch chat choose my team of 6 Pokemon, and I will go through any generation, and I will win.
The fact that Twitch plays Pokemon,
seriously,
is a thing. Tells you how fucking malleable the system is, Nika. I mean, like, the fact that exists, you can't say that it's that rigid, because it's not.
I suppose.
It's not. Because if it was, you couldn't have that. Although, I guess you've got Twitch plays Dark Souls at the same time. But
Multiple people saying 6 Magikarps only. Good luck.
6 Magikarps only.
Give me an evolution line.
Struggle the entire
6
time.
different ones.
Oh my God. All right, let's continue on, Nika.
Let's continue. Okay. Gear and / Pokemon exclusivity and EPing. Everyone who plays games loves their EPing gear and Pokemon. Why do you think everyone asks, what CP Pokemon do you have? Because you want to know how much better than them you are, and if you're not, you now have that fire to get the good stuff, even if it's so hard to catch, find, etc. Kalos playing off of Juxta's Gen 3 Pokemon just for the legendary Pokemon is a good example. I won't bother with examples in 11 because there are too many. Having that one random Pokemon with the right moveset or elemental strength sometimes lets you pull out an epic win. Horizontal gear and gear swaps in combat let you do that. Those are moments you always remember. As a side note, I don't even play 11 anymore, haven't for years, and I still periodically go back to the WikiBG and FFXIAH.com to just check out gear. Years later, and I still have gear lust.
Yeah.
I guess. I ignored XI's inventory / macro flaw since I wanted to just focus on the positives of the gear, not the system limitations due to PS2 and dial-up.
PS2 limitations.
And I know FF14 can't do gear swaps in combat, but what if they did introduce horizontal gear progression? They could make each individual boss in a given raid tier require different stat thresholds. Make Turn 1 have a high accuracy requirement. Turn 2 has a different determination calculation requiring high depth build but with lower accuracy requirements. Turn 3 could require body parts to break out off of the boss, but that can only be done via critical hits. And Turn 4 could be the way it's designed now. Enough accuracy for 100% hit rate and then your best DPS stat. Anyway, thanks for taking time to read this. Gwenna Mindir from Legion of Halone on the Leviathan server.
Yeah. Gwenna, thank you very much for that email. I don't know that I agree with the last part of...
That sounds really, really awful.
It kind of does.
Attack the enemy crab in its weak spot.
It breaks up the monotony of just trying to get the same best in slot. It requires you to have a different best in slot for each raid, which I think is an interesting concept. Maybe not in the same way that they presented it. Right. But having to have a different gear. I mean, that was one of the things with 11.
No, you're right.
Management was horrible in 11, but it required you to not have necessarily like there's the one best in slot, and if you don't have that, you suck. Because you can be like, well, this is my best in slot for this raid tier or whatever. You know, like. I do think it could use something like that.
No, I think their heart is in the right place and that they're thinking about the right motivation. But I just see, I don't know, I see something like that as an addition or a change that players wouldn't like or wouldn't be received very well.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like Materia, I feel like, but like in the opposite direction, like more limiting, because then you have to know like even more archaic accuracy requirements for this boss versus this boss, and then have to redo all your...
Can I just mention something? Like, there's something that's happened with gaming in, like, and this is post the internet, and I guess with a lot of us growing up and still having an intense interest in gaming, but like I feel like a lot of times gaming has become way too mechanical, right? Like, of course there are mechanics, but like at the same time, like I saw a DPS breakdown chart for Pokemon Go, and I said to myself, doesn't this seem like a little bit much? Like, I understand that it is the natural extension of all of this stuff, and that, you know, as Nika was talking about, there are ideal lineups. There are, you know,
get that perfect IV.
Perfect IV stats. All of that shit does factor into that game. Absolutely. But at the same time, like, doesn't knowing that or taking that and stripping it down to just its mechanics and just its number, like, doesn't that... I feel like you lose something in the translation there, that it becomes inherently more robotic and less magical. And I think this is something that you had talked about, Juxta, when we had talked about, you know, like Pokemon Go and Pokevision, that having a tool like that made it feel less like a game, like there was no discovery anymore. Like you just knew what was going to be there, and it was far more cynical, and it took the spirit of the game away. And I think that you were actually kind of right in that it did.
It's because I'm always right.
You lost a degree when you added that, and I think that that's true overall about the information that you just give to players playing your game. the more information that we have, of course, the more efficiently we'll always play. But at the same time, you take a bit of that mystery away, and I'm not sure that I'm not one of those people that I love stripping the mystery away. I feel like
I kind of pine for the mystery because
I do too.
When I'm out doing whatever for whatever reason, I'm always like picturing like what would be my ideal MMO,
right?
And I would think like I kind of want to have an MMO where you don't know anything about it. Like I don't know if this would even be possible, but on patch day, the patch hits, you get some general patch notes, and that's it. You have to go out and find the quests yourself.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
maybe there's a quest that no one even discovers for like 2 or 3 weeks afterwards, but then it unlocks a dungeon that nobody was even aware existed. And then the first people who clear that dungeon, for whatever reason, gets a special item or something.
Exactly.
There was a game
that's like discovery.
There was a game that was kind of like a shooter MMO a while back that I am struggling to remember the name of, but it kind of functioned like that, where new areas only became available once you unlocked them.
Right.
Like your players had to, like they had been taken over by another species, so you had to like actually do quests and incursions into there to unlock those places. So you couldn't even find out what was in there until your server had taken over the area.
Right.
And figured out what was going on there.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called.
Perfect World? No. Damn. Do you remember what the theme of it
Kyle
was?
said Firefall.
Firefall?
Firefall. That
Was
sounds
that it?
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Firefall.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
Well, thank you very much, Kyle.
Oh, that is Kyle. Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, Firefall.
Throwback bit there.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, let's go back to our phone lines. We got a couple of people hanging on. I'm not sure how many more calls we're going to get through today, but
we still have to do FFFL.
We
and
do, yeah.
We have a project to talk about.
That's right. So let's go to our phone lines. Will probably be our last caller for the episode. Adela McDougal of Midgar Summer. Adela, thanks for calling Limit Break Radio.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for calling.
I really don't listen to you guys that often because I never really heard about you. Final Fantasy 14 is actually my first MMO I've ever played in my entire life. My boyfriend, he's at Final Fantasy 11, and he talks about how, like, he was actually told me, like, so much stories of Final Fantasy 11, and I played Final Fantasy 14 for about 2 years now, and, like, I just want to go and see Final Fantasy 11 and back how it used to be, because right now in our, like, server-wise, it's just how, like, in a game, nobody feels like helping people anymore. Like, It's a game of helpfulness. Like, no one just cares anymore. Like, people care about getting their clears, getting this, getting that done, just getting everything to 60 and, like, guild money-wise. Like, people care more about money in the game than they do about helping people. My boyfriend talked about, he was the Final Fantasy 11. He got his relic while he was Final Fantasy 11. He told me about the grind and how horrible him. It's just interesting to hear the differences between Final Fantasy 11 and 14. You know how, like, you know how people are dying away. Like, people only come back for patches. People only come back for updates.
Right.
It's sad to see that. We're just like robots. Like, we just know, so we have an update coming up, and, we got to go do this update and get it done and get it out of the way so we know that we got it accomplished.
Well, we're hamsters at the feeder bar waiting for our pellet to come down from Square Enix.
Well, and I think that style of play is much more indicative and much more accepted and you know, like, among WoW players. Like, Juxta, you played a lot of WoW. Is that that seems like a very WoW mentality? Like, what we're going through now with the way that people only tune back in during patch cycles, that's a very WoW mentality, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Like, basically, WoW is just the hack and slash and burn of the MMO world. You just use it, abuse it, and trash it,
and then just toss it aside and
destroy the agriculture. Make sure no plants can ever grow there ever again.
Slash and burn MMO development.
I was hearing you guys earlier talk about how Pokemon Go is a very big thing right now for a lot of people because it's nostalgia. You know, it's the 90s. You go back and play the game. I've been playing Pokemon my whole life. I own, like, every single movie that I've watched, the TV shows. But what's different of, like, Pokemon Go and, like, Pokemon regulars, like Final Fantasy, is that yes, it is like your online gaming. It can be because of 3DS. You have friends online. You can trade online and stuff like that. It's just you, as right now, in like 14, you have your raid group. You have your set 7 people, 8 people that you have in your group, and they have specific jobs and they have specific attributes. It's just as with Pokemon, you have your 6 high Pokemon that you have to catch and turn to league. Like, you have your 6 specific. Right now in the game, people are not caring. They're like, oh, I got my level 60. I'm in a good raid group. We're doing great. I don't need to really level any other classes or to help other people out there. Like, to be able to say, like in Pokemon, oh, I catch them all, like all 150 Pokemon, is to say in Final Fantasy 14, if I got every class at level 60 and it's geared up to 240, to say that. Because in the game, nobody, like you said, nobody likes to grind anymore. Nobody likes to play the game. It comes to the point to where it just, nobody just even cares really just what's going on in the game or helping you.
I'm not totally sure that it's nobody likes to grind anymore or nobody likes to play the game anymore. I just feel like there's not a compelling reason to do any of that. Like, there's not a compelling reward out of, or a compelling enough reward out of events like Deep Dungeon or, Diadem to get me to deviate from trying to get the rewards that I was already going after even before those patches were introduced. Your 240 gear, your anima weapon. And because you're already making progress on that, it feels like a lot of that stuff, yes, it is sort of a lateral, like getting a what is it, the 235 weapon or whatever it is. It is a much more lateral move, and that is something that we've been encouraging. But at the same time, like, there's not enough there. Like, with Deep Dungeon, I think that if they had introduced gear sets, that would have been, something else to really keep people there. But with only having a single motivating factor, I just don't think it's enough. And that's not... I don't think that that's a criticism on the development team. That's just... that's reward structure. It's pretty objective. Like, that's not saying, like, you're doing something wrong, FF14 development team. Like, they are putting in newer pieces of gear that have new designs. We get that every patch, but it's where they're placing them that I think is actually kind of the problem, right? Because we had identified this. You get unique pieces of gear out of doing dungeons when the intrinsic reason to do dungeons is to grind tomes. So why don't you separate those two motivating things? Because we do know that that glamour is a good motivating factor.
Especially gear glamour.
Yes, absolutely. But for whatever reason, gear stats are not as good of a motivating factor. That's not as easy of a fix. That takes a lot more consideration on the part of the dev team and a lot of consideration on environment balance to be able to adjust or change any of those things moving forward. So I understand that there's a balance, and I also understand that the dev team have kind of worked themselves into a little bit of a corner with Heaven's Word, and that they've got to ride it out. They had this plan, even if the plan is not going as well as they'd like it to, they've got to ride it out until 4.0. 4.0 is really going to be kind of the
make or break.
Yeah, I really do think that they've got to bring something big to the table in terms of 4.0. Again, Adela, thank you very much for the call. We really appreciate it. You got any shout outs you want to share?
The shout out to the FC Nomad Moogles and Midi Garthmer.
Right on. And again, right there, you're hearing from someone who, this is their first MMO. They should have that, that honeymoon period with FF14 that we had for years with FF11. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem like it hits in the same way. Again, this is all anecdotal evidence. This is all personal,
irrefutable evidence.
No, it's not. It's not objective. Okay. Like, none of this can be objective. This is all very opinion based. So, and this is all going by feeling. So, objectively, when you break down the numbers, we could be dead wrong. We could be absolutely 100% dead wrong, and Square Enix could be looking at the course of development and saying, like, we're taking the proper path because our profits are up. That's totally valid, because at the end of the day, they are a business. They're in this. They do this to make money. They do this to make a profit. So you can't discount that. You can't say, well, we want a game at the expense of you running your business into the ground. That, you know what I mean? Like,
completely valid.
No, it's not. Oh. It's not. All right. Thanks again for the call, Adela. Thanks to all of our callers. A lot of new callers today. Thank you guys so much for chiming in here at Limit Break Radio. Hope you've also hit that follow button, and you'll come back and hang out with us every Sunday. We do this every Sunday, and we invite your calls every Sunday, no matter what we're talking about. So if you didn't get a chance to express yourself this week, we'll want to hear from you next week here at Limit Break Radio. All right, so we're winding down here, but it is time to check in with what's going on in the FFFL.
Good afternoon, FFFL fans. Week 2 of the season has come to a close, so let's dive right in with the results. First up, the Melocene Marauders' early season struggles continue as they take a tough loss at home against the Chickabos, who moved to 2-0 on the season. Meanwhile, high drama over at the Blomgarden Training Center. A stoppage in play due to grats on the field gave the Banana Hammocks time to collect themselves and rebound. They managed to take the win on the road against the Blom T-Rexars. They go to 2-0 while the T-Rexars fall to 1-1. Bimbo USA continues to struggle as they got decimated in the Midgar slums by El Negro Grande. Grande moves to 1-1 while Bimbo USA falls to 0-2.
That sounds really bad, but okay.
And speaking of 0-2, the Red Wings had a tough week in the Fight Club against the Edelweiss Avengers, who pulled out a close win. They go to 1-1 while the Red Wings prepare to bounce back for their home opener next week.
Just want to point out how much advocating Kahlo has done for his team versus how much advocating I've done for mine, and it was still a narrow margin that I lost by.
He had Biggs on his team.
Okay, but he had real live people advertising and telling people.
I was seeing it on Facebook. Wow. I was like, wow, okay.
Wow.
Thirsty, aren't we? Jeez.
Shameful.
God.
Well, speaking of juggernauts, we've got the Super Senpai Megaforce, who looks unstoppable so far this season, at least on their home turf. They go to 2-0 after a win against the Verminion Lords, brought to you by the law firm of Adelegi and Kupenreich, who fall to 1-1 on the season.
Still butthurt.
And on to the waiver wire. Yeah, Kupenreich and Adelegi. It's a very prestigious law firm.
Yeah.
And
very honest and very truthful, and very trustworthy.
Give them all your money.
Do they have a final solution?
Not that right.
Wrong
sorry.
Right. Jeez. And on the waiver wire this week, we've got Wedge, Tella, Vincent, Payne, Lightning, Renoa, Bartz, Pinello, Steiner, and Tara. So our waiver wire priority is going to start off with Papa Woody.
Nope.
No, yeah, you guys are 2-0. Why would you do anything? Gordor and Mad Hatter will have to send me something if they want it. I will make my decision later. Aniro, anything you want to do? I'll take that as a no.
What?
Are
we doing a thing?
No, you're good. You can just hang out over there. By the way,
who he picked on his team? You need to get some more people that are more Nero's speed.
Okay, so what, next week I'll add on protagonist of the Final Fantasy.
There you go.
For the Game Boy.
Yeah, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about with all of these damn characters.
By the way, so this week I decided to take your team a little more seriously, and I actually found portraits of all of your characters.
Really?
And surprisingly enough, he almost won.
I'm impressed.
It took me forever to find them, and I think your team looked more weeaboo than when I had Fluttershy on your team.
Okay, that's fair.
God. Juxta, Callow, Nika, do you guys want to do anything?
No, I'm on a roll.
Yeah, why would you change anything?
Kahlo, how about you? Kahlo?
Oh,
Kahlo.
That's a shame.
He said he wants Wedge.
Oh, he wants Wedge back. Okay.
No, I'm gonna swap out. I'm gonna use my waiver.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're gonna swap out my waifu Ares and bring in Lightning.
You're gonna grab Lightning. Okay.
Yep, a new waifu.
All right.
You're suddenly replacing all your dead people.
Well,
what happened to your theme? What happened to your theme?
We're rising from the ashes.
Oh, okay.
What are you going to do for the marmots?
Reborn.
Okay.
I'll have to think of something. Our matchups for the coming week start with the Balam T-Rexars preparing for a brutal week as the Super Senpai Megaforce comes to town. The T-Rexars look to avoid losing their first 2 games at home while the Megaforce looks to further their lead in the division. Next up, a showdown between a pair of unbeaten teams as the Chickabos welcome Titan's Banana Hammock to the missing member. This one looks to be a fierce matchup between division rivals. On the other end of the spectrum, a slap fight is looking to break out between the Melocene Marauders and the Red Wings as they have their home opener at Castle Baron. Fans have examined the bylaws of the league to see if both teams can in fact go to 0-3. Spoilers, they cannot. The Gold Saucer will be alive once again as the Verminion Lords, sponsored by Hildebrand brand whitening toothpaste, return home for a matchup with El Negro Grande. And lastly, the Edelweiss Avengers hit the road this week and head down to Quarry Mill for a match with the thus far winless Bimbo USA. So remember, everyone, check out our blog at limitbreakradio.com every Tuesday night for your weekly FFFL post, and make sure to cast your vote on Twitter.
There you go. And we hope that you are already following us at Limit Break Radio on Twitter. That's where all of our polls are posted. And again, those go up on Tuesday at limitbreakradio.com. Now, something that I wanted to address here before wrapping up the show. Had a couple of questions in this last week come in via email and through Messenger. But
stop asking questions.
Are episodes now being posted on Wednesdays? Because usually they're posted, like Monday night, Tuesday morning by about midnight. And that's going to go into the explanation of everything else. So a couple of months ago, back in December, I had talked to you guys about getting let go from my job. And what I had explained was, while I was collecting unemployment, that I would be devoting a lot of resources and time and energy and effort into Limit Break Radio, expanding the streaming aspect, trying to lock down Limit Break Radio and FEC as shows as tightly as possible, which I think that we've done a very good job of, as well as look towards the horizon for new opportunities as well. And what I had tried to express at that time, and I'm not sure if I did it very well or not, but what I tried to express at that time was that this is different for me because a lot of podcast producers, and specifically for things like FF14 and for video games, a lot of these projects are driven solely by enthusiasm, where this is an extension. I see this as an extension of my profession. I've said this multiple times on the show. I'm not a great Final Fantasy XIV player, but I am a great broadcaster. And I'm always looking for things to broadcast and do shows about. And I'm just lucky enough that people want to hear my opinions about FF14 that we get to do this show. And I first of all, I have to thank you, because you guys have provided us with the foundation to be able to grow this product. And we have very successfully. Final Encountercast, I think, is a great show. I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish with that show in just a year. I mean, when you think of some of the milestones that we've been able to hit as a show in 1 year, Final Encountercast is on track to be a really amazing show. And we've worked it into a place where I think it's a great product. I enjoy listening to the show. I think that the discussions that we have are unique and interesting. And, that show, it's the fact that it's weekly, and we've said this a bunch of times, is really only because of your support over at patreon.com/limitbreakradio. And I've been saying this for weeks, that, I feel like it shouldn't just be on you guys, that part of doing our due diligence as a company, as a content production company, needs to be seeking other ways to be able to fund and present our projects other than coming to you with our hands open and saying, please give because you like us. It has been, you guys have been incredibly generous, and it's been effective.
Yep. But
it doesn't make me feel great, and it doesn't make it that sustainable. $2,000 a month is pretty sustainable for one person. We've got 5 people and a growing staff. First of all, we've got that many people because that's what we think makes for great content. It's not necessarily 100% true across the board. There are other people who have YouTube channels that do very well, and it's just them. But what we do well, what we are the best at, is acting as a group and as a crew and bringing interesting discussions to you guys. I could sit here alone in this chair take your calls and rant all I want. But I don't think it would be as fun or as interesting if Nika wasn't here acting as a counterbalance to some of my cynicism. It wouldn't be as interesting if you didn't have Juxta here trolling the comments and making us giggle every couple of minutes.
Well, yeah, Dadoy.
It wouldn't be nearly as engaging if you didn't have Escalia's unique take and perspective on what this game has to offer and what gaming in general has to offer. And so, one of the things that has been very limiting in terms of the time that I can dedicate to FF14, and this is not meant as an excuse, and this is exactly why I didn't preface the discussion that we just had with sharing this information, because I don't want this to be an excuse, because I don't want this to color the rest of the conversation that we just had. But my unemployment ran out. When you no longer have that income to rely on, you got to find something, man. And fortunately, right as my unemployment was running out, I got a really great opportunity at a radio station that I was already working at that was switching formats. So overnight, I tripled to quadrupled the amount of hours that I've been working. And that's those of you who have had work hour adjustments, you know exactly what I'm going through. And it can be tough. It can be a tough adjustment. It's why one of the reasons why you haven't seen me stream a whole lot recently. But one of the other things that I've been working on behind the scenes, and not just work, but a dialogue had been started about 3 months ago about the possibility of making a show for a radio audience, not a podcast audience, and not making a podcast to be released through us, but to actually have this show go out over radio stations and try to pick up a local audience for that radio station talking about video games. This is a guys, first of all, let me just say how crazy of a fucking long shot something like this is. This has never been done. Nobody has ever done or tried to put something like this on commercial radio before. And we have an opportunity to be able to do that.
You could say we're pioneers.
We are blazing a new trail.
The first.
And one of the things that we struggled with initially, like, okay, do we divert resources and time from doing FEC? Do we repackage and rebrand FEC? And we haven't officially or 100% concluded on any of these. But the plan is right now that this is going to be the third show that the LBR network is producing. Yep. And we're hoping that the income that's able to generate will be able to further our ambitions to continue making content. That's what we do here at Limit Break Radio, at the LBR network. We make content. Doesn't have to be about games. It just so happens that everything that we've made has been about games. It's a happy accident. I'll make a show. I swear to you, I would make a show about anything. If I have opinions about it and I could talk about it, I will make a show about anything under the sun that allows me to sit down in front of an open microphone and talk to people. That's just what I do. It's part of my profession. It's built into my DNA. But the fact that we get to do it about video games, a subject that we love and are passionate about, that's actually thanks to you. That's thanks to you listening to us. That's thanks to you supporting us financially and helping us start this conversation and get the ball rolling and have something that we can present to someone who makes those kinds of decisions. And we're really excited to be pushing forward in this direction.
Yeah, if you're wondering where the demo reel material came from, where we pitched the show, guess what show it was?
It came from Final Encountercast. Yep. And this show is going to be like a tighter Final Encountercast. We're going to refine everything that we've been doing with Final Encountercast while continuing to try and experiment with things on Final Encountercast. So that's what we're looking forward to here in the future of the network, in the future of content being made here, and just on a personal level.
Blaze that trail, Annie-Arrow. We know you have a lot of experience.
That's
Have
a
a pride.
$4.20 donation, by the way, from Melky Thera.
Blaze that trail.
Yes, but this is an opportunity I never saw myself getting, and I have to thank you guys. Coming off of my last job, I didn't know what was going to be the next move for me. It could have just as easily been spinning country records in an area that nobody cares about. And it's because of you guys, because of your listenership, because of your support, because of your enthusiasm, that someone has been able to give us the opportunity to give this a shot. And so when it premieres, when it debuts, guys, I hope you'll give it a shot. I hope you'll listen to it. We don't know what it's called yet. It's still, a lot of it is still in the development stage, but yeah,
we can't give any real details on it yet.
Yeah, we really can't.
We wish we could. We really do. But we can tell you that's why we've been busy with stuff lately. Like, a lot of our time has been dedicated to getting this off the ground.
It is. And for those of you who are FF14 fans and maybe you don't even like Final Encountercast, right? I understand that there are those people out there who really only like the Limit Break Radio show. That's cool. I want to reassure you that there is no intention on Limit Break Radio going anywhere.
Nope.
Or making any types of changes. Limit Break Radio stays exactly the same. We've been producing the show for 10 years. We're not about to stop now.
A lot of people
having a distraction of another show, even if it's wildly successful, I don't think that's going to be enough to wrench us away from this game or this community. That is a promise that we're making to you.
A lot of people in the chat are asking, will people who are not in the market where this is airing have any way to listen to it?
We're going to find out and have an answer for you, but it is an intention that this will be a podcast as well.
Yep.
And we, your advocacy for Limit Break Radio, for LBR, doesn't end here, because we're going to need people telling radio affiliates about this program and saying, look, this is really great, and I'd love to be able to listen to this in my hometown. That's going to be a big part of this, guys, because, again, we have so many factors working against our success in doing this, that this is a huge risk for us, but it's also a very big endeavor. And I truly believe that I do have a competitive advantage in this area. I've been producing radio for 17 years. And yes, I make a mean podcast as well, but I've been producing radio for 17 years and been paid for it. Let's try to merge the two. Let's try, and I believe in radio. Like a lot of people are like, well, wouldn't this be better served as a podcast? I don't know, maybe. But I believe in radio. I believe in the strength of radio, and I believe that it will expand the product and it will give us exposure in new areas. So, guys, thank you for your support. Thank you for everything that you've done for Limit Break Radio. Thank you for listening, commenting, whatever it is that you do, however you engage with Limit Break Radio. Thank you. You have provided us this opportunity. We will not forget that. We are here for you. We want to make this our profession. We want to make this what we eat off of. You guys got us like half the way. We're trying to get the other half of the way. That's our goal. I think it's a pretty noble goal, if not a little bit crazy. But that's our goal. And I'm saying that for you guys too. I want to get you guys a payday. I mean, I know that we already pay you guys, but your talent, your dedication that you've put to this idea is unbelievable. And I feel like you guys deserve to make your living off of this. That's the amount. That's truly what I believe your level of talent brings to the table. So, all right, that's going to be it for Limit Break Radio. Guys, I want to invite you to join us coming up over at Final Encountercast. That's at twitch.tv/Final Encountercast. That's coming up at 5. We're going to be doing our next episode of Final Encountercast. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about the latest in gaming news and headlines, but we're also going to be talking a little bit more about Pokemon Go, because I'm not just known now as a Nero. I'm now also known as the Safari Zone guy. So we got to talk about that.
Amazing.
We got to talk about that a little bit. That's going to be coming up next over on Final Encountercast. But also, we're going to be talking about Metal Gear Survive.
Metal Gear.
And that's all I'm willing to say right now.
Great.
That's all I'm willing to say right now. Guys, that's going to do it here for Limit Break Radio. I want to thank all of our callers. We had a lot of first-time callers today. I want to thank my crew, Papa Woody and Kooky Persona, as well as Juxtaposition, Escalia Ryumasa, and Nika Kyanian. I'm a Nero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Kalo Landis, Escalia Ryumasa, and Aniro Grigori. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Captain Failboat, Zurian Urexin, Azura Giacho, Bianca Forwin, Kalina Ashsaber, Thor Carson, My Waifu, Satori Komeji, Darbykins, Sakura-chan, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content. Thanks for listening to episode number 77 of Limit Break Radio. Guys,